Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto married Sona. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content, and do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Kushina. Minato. White and red clash together, causing an explosion of power as the two great forces clashes time and time again. Male and female screams of force were shouted out each time the two forces clashed together. Boost/divide. Ha! This is our best fight yet. I'm happy this will be our last fight. The female fighter shouted as she flew away from the white fighter. Her entire body was covered with tight red scale armor, her body having green gems over it in several places. Her long red hair was flowing out from underneath the dragon-shaped helmet she wore over her face. She had a red aura of power over her body. Boost! She shouted as the aura around her body doubled in intensity. The shockwaves coming off of her destroying many meters of the nearby trees and forest animals. The white armored fighter chased after her. He was clearly masculine, and was wearing a white version of her armor. Only where her wings seemed like they were flesh and blood, his wings were seemingly made of blue energy, and he was constantly releasing more blue energy from the wings. I've already touched you, now divide, he shouted as her power halved in strength. More energy came out of his wings as he took in more than he could use. He safely released all of the excess power from his wings though. I won't allow you to increase your strength anymore. The two of them clashed, punching each other in the heads, cracks appearing on their helmets as the two of them tried to lay waste to each other. They broke apart. That's fine by me. Come on, Drake, time to pull out our trump card. Get ready, Minato, Kushina shouted as she shoved her hand into the green jewel on her right hand. She pulled her hand out, and a glowing black sword came out of nothing. The black energy vanished from the sword, revealing a dangerous-looking sword. The legendary sword of the sun, the demonic sword Gram. Let's see how you handle a dragon-slaying sword, and Minato-chan, Kushina called out loudly as got her hands around her sword. With a single swing of her sword, she split the entire forest in two. Minato flew above her slash and placed his hand over one of his blue jewels. A golden sword came out of his jewel, and when the golden glow vanished, it showed him holding his own powerful-looking golden sword. So you got your hands on the strongest demon sword. Let's see how it compared to my sword Ascalon. My dragon-slaying holy sword, Minato exclaimed as he showed off his sword. Kushina wielded her sword with both of her hands, and Minato used his with a reverse grip, only a single hand. The strongest demon sword versus one of the four great holy swords, both swords with dragon-slaying powers. There was a pause, before they practically teleported in front of each other. Their blades clashed, and Minato halved the power of her sword when they struck, just in time so that his sword wasn't destroyed. Minato's slashes were focused on skill, while Kushina flung her power and speed around with ease. The two of them didn't gain any ground over the over, but every once in a while one would give a shallow cut to the other. Their armor sliced cleanly through by the dragon-slaying powers of their swords. Kushina gave a wicked headbutt to Minato right after their blades clashed, shattering the armor on their faces, showing the excited grin on her face. He had a soft smile on his face, before the two of them broke apart. Fuck, that hurts. Dragon-slaying swords are no joke. Kushina rubbed her armor above a cut on her arm. Be careful, you have all the weaknesses of a dragon. Listen to Drake, this might be our last battle, but I don't want Naruto to lose his mother because she overestimated her own power. Minato spoke with confidence of his coming victory. You say that, but you're in quite a bit of pain yourself, Minato. Ha! You tell him, Albion, my husband is always underestimating just how much pain I can take. Come on, Drake. Kushina waved her hand in front of her face, her helmet regenerating instantly. Let's show just how powerful the Red Dragon Emperor is. I'm going to win, Kushina shouted as she rushed at Minato twice as fast as before. Minato jumped backwards and regenerated the armor on his head as well. He flipped over her sword and kicked her in the head. She took a step back from the kick, before she grinned underneath her armor. I, who am about to awaken. Ha! Now that is awesome. Fine, I'm game. I, who am about to awaken, Kushina shouted as she copied his chant as the two of them traded blows. I am the heavenly dragon who has stolen the principles of domination from God. I laugh at the infinite, and grieve at the dream. I shall become the red dragon of domination, and I shall sink you to the depths of the crimson purgatory. I am the heavenly dragon who has taken the principles of supremacy from God. I eni the infinite, and pursue the dream. I shall become the white dragon of supremacy, and I shall take you to the limits of white paradise. At the same time, they finished their chants. Their bodies grew to large proportions as they took on large dragon forms. A mixture between their humanoid forms, with the powers of the dragons inside of them. The two of them destroyed the entire mountain ranges around them with their power being unleashed. Their swords combined with their bodies, giving Minato a golden glow, and Kushina a black glow. Juggernaut Drive, Perfect Holy Mode / Juggernaut Drive, Perfect Demon Mode. Go, my strongest wielder, and defeat our rival. Right, Drake! Kushina shouted in a booming voice as she punched Minato in the jaw. The earth quaked from the power of her punch. She opened her mouth, and spewed forth insane amounts of flames that burned away the majority of the island they were fighting on. Divide! I see you perfect the Juggernaut Drive and gave it your own twist as well, Minato noted as he and Kushina slammed both of their fists together. The rest of the island they were fighting on was destroyed. You've been holding out on me, Minato. I feel more power from you than I did when I fought Ophis. Now this is what I truly wanted. I've already mocked the infinite, and now I get to see beyond infinity. Kushina was truly happy as she clashed with her husband. That was right, her husband. They signed a deal 5 years previously, that they would wait 5 years and train together before they clashed one final time. Of course, she never expected the two of them would fall in love and get married. She didn't expect that they would have a son together either. She didn't see a lot of things coming from their agreement, but the time was up. They signed with their blood, and they used a binding magic to make sure either was able to get out of this contract. They were forced to fight, and if one of them was doomed to die, Kushina would try and get some fun out of the fight. She would be sure to tell their son how strong his father was. Me? Holding out? Look at you! You've become more powerful than when you trained underneath Great Red. You've surpassed your teacher, and I surpass mine. I'll be sure to tell Naruto how powerful his mother was. Minato shouted back at her as the two of them traded blows. They were just testing each other out at the moment. Kushina grunted. Took the words right out of my mouth, Longinus Smasher. Kushina's chest opened up, and she fired a beam at Minato from it. Her ducked underneath it, and an entire chain of islands behind him were erased from existence. Hey you two fucks, try not to destroy the barrier I placed. Do you know how hard it is for me to use senjutsu to make a barrier strong enough to hold your battle? Sorry, Jiraiya-sensei. Kushina and Minato stopped fighting and looked towards a man sitting on the ocean. They both offered bows to the older man. The man had part of his clothes destroyed by their shockwaves, but he was a well-built man in his elderly years. He had a beard on his chin, and his eyes were toad-shaped with red markings on his face. His body was partially transformed into a toad shape as he meditated, distorting the space around all of them so that they could fight to their heart's content. Minato kicked Kushina in the center of the chest, and she returned with a jab at his ribs, the two of them getting right back to fighting. Seriously, when I learned the forbidden Toad Yokai Senjutsu, I never thought that I would be using it so that a husband and wife could kill each other. Jiraiya complained as he watched the ones he trained in hand-to-hand combat trying to murder each other. He was soaked moments later when a wave of blood washed over him. Kushina slashed Minato in the arm with her claws at the same time as he slashed her in the torso, their large forms spilling blood all over Jiraiya. Sacred gear users Naruto, I hope that you aren't cursed with a sacred gear like your parents when growing up. Jiraiya lamented at the thought of his godson growing up with one of those cursed items in him. He felt sorry for the next person to inherit the divine dividing or boosted gear, seeing as they would be doomed to failure since they would have to fight either Minato or Kushina, which wouldn't end well for them. Running out of stamina, huh, Minato? Guess you just can't keep up with my body, eh? Kushina asked loudly with a laugh when she saw Minato beginning to run out of stamina. Minato twitched. Using his Juggernaut Drive, Perfect Holy Mode was a huge drain on his stamina, unlike Kushina, who came from a clan of humans known to have nearly endless stamina. She had so much stamina that if she wanted to, she could literally live her entire life in her balanced breaker form. She regained her stamina faster than she could lose it. Though her current form was draining her stamina faster than her body could produce it, but she still had freakish levels of stamina to the point he was sure she could keep fighting for days in her current form. I just have to finish this in my next attack, then how about it, Kushina? Minato stated as he raised his hand up. All of the energy coming out of his wings formed into a spiraling ball of energy in the palm of his giant hand. All of the energy that he stole from her gathered up. Golden chains came out of Kushina's body and spiraled around her fist, becoming a spike chain drill. Kushina showed just how game she was for his suggestion. Fine, Naruto is going to be waking up from his nap soon anyway, let's finish this with one last attack. They clashed one final time moments later. Chalk this up to another red dragon win, Edrag? Kushina spoke as she floated on the waves, barely alive. The lower half of her body had been completely obliterated by Minato's attack. She had reverted back to her human form from the sheer amount of damage that she had taken. It was only thanks to her massive amount of life force and vitality that she was even alive. It was the same reason why she could use her demon sword without being affected by the curse. She had so much life force that the sword's curse simply didn't affect her. Of course, having a lot of life force could only delay her death at the hands of her husband. Well, you did kill him first. Yep, I call that winning. Kushina grinned to herself as she looked up at the sun in the sky. She was fighting to stay alive, she still wanted to go back home and raise her son after all. Her blood was turning the water around her completely red, her clothes were stained with her own blood. I call that losing. Sorry, Jiraiya-sensei, but we couldn't avoid this battle. We both signed an oath that couldn't be broken. Cough, looks like I won't be going home. Kushina coughed up a good amount of blood. She frowned and submerged part of her head in the water, leaving only her mouth above the water. I've lived a pretty good life. Kushina mused out loud as Jiraiya picked up her body. Minato's body was on his other shoulder. I wouldn't call it a good life. You've dedicated your entire life to becoming as strong as you could be, and now that you're the strongest, you're dying. Jiraiya spoke sadly to her. She laughed softly at his words. Too true. She had trained her entire life to become the strongest, and that life was ending with her as the strongest. She had forced some of the greatest creatures to train her, to the point that she couldn't even be considered human by strength alone. She had gained godlike strength with just her base form alone. She had long since surpassed even dragon inside of her when the dragon was at its full strength. She had become the strongest boosted gear wielder, and had surpassed even Great Red himself. She had defeated the strongest divine dividing user, and she had surpassed every obstacle that stood in her way. It's too bad I couldn't train Naruto. Well, he'll surpass me one day, I'm sure of it. Kushina whispered, and Jiraiya scoffed. Yeah, that would be the day. He doesn't even have a sacred gear. Jiraiya laughed at the idea that her son would be able to overcome his parents in strength. He activated his balance breaker the day he was born. And you never told me? Jiraiya asked her with widened eyes. That was a pretty big damn deal that his godson had a sacred gear with a fully achieved balance breaker. What was worse was the fact that they left Naruto at home where who knows what creature will attack him. Wasn't important. Minato and I were sure that whichever one of us survived we could protect him, and help him grow stronger. Neither of us thought we would both die today. Kushina did sound truly sad about the fact they were both dying. Minato was dead, and she was in the process of dying. Neither of them would be able to watch their son grow up, and neither of them could train him. It's pretty important, Jiraiya pointed out to her. She snorted. His sacred gear is Twilight Healing. It's not like he's the only person on the planet with that sacred gear. Do you know the real reason why Minato and I decided to battle on the opposite side of the planet from Naruto? Kushina asked Jiraiya with her eyes closing. She had lost her vision several seconds ago. Her vision had gone completely black. No use keeping her eyes open when she was no longer able to see. Jiraiya stayed silent for a moment. To protect him. To fight Naruto has such a high dragon affinity that he negates the powers of dragons. Of course, I did learn something interesting about the dragon affinity. Kushina smirked to herself weakly. Her son had the power to negate the powers of dragons. He had been born with the power to defeat dragons. That alone showed her how much latent potential her son had. It caused balance breakers to take new forms. Kushina spoke softer still. She didn't have much longer. You wanted to train your son to become stronger than you, and eventually kill you, am I right? Jiraiya mused out loud. Of course not, idiot. There is nothing wrong with a mother wanting her son to surpass her. Drake, can I ask one last favor of you? Kushina spoke to the dragon inside of her. Sure, Kushina. When you have a new host, help Naruto learn to control his dragon aura. Kushina could only ask that of Drake. Naruto wasn't born with the powers of the boosted gear or divine dividing, but the fact remains that both Kushina and Minato had powerful dragon auras. An aura that they had passed down to their child. He might not have gotten any dragon powers, per se, other than his natural ability to negate dragon powers, but his sacred gear had been affected by his dragon aura. If my next host ever meets Naruto, I will be sure to help his training. Jiraiya, can you give Naruto a message for me when he's older? Kushina asked Jiraiya. Of course. Jiraiya wasn't cruel, and he wouldn't begrudge a foolish woman's last dying wish. She might not be able to see it, or feel it, but there were tears dripping off of her face and into the ocean below. Kushina took a breath as deep as she could take, before she thought over what his last words would be. Tell him that he shouldn't be a picky eater, train and study as hard as he can, and find a girl that not only loves him as much as I do, but will also stand by his side. Using the last of her strength, Jiraiya watched as Kushina's last breath left her body. He closed his eyes and gently placed Kushina and Minato in the water next to each other. He placed his hands together, before he took Ascalon and Gram out of the seals on their bodies. He stored the two swords away in his own seal for them. Looking down at his martial arts students, he clapped his hands together a second time as the water below opened up and swallowed Minato and Kushina. I'll tell him. Jiraiya spoke softly. With Naruto. Seriously, I worked my ass off for 50 years to achieve my balance breaker, and this child activates it without any training. Life is unfair. A youthful-looking woman spoke as she looked down at a boy with a sigh. She was a beautiful woman with blonde hair with a purple mark on her forehead, with light brown eyes. She had a very youthful body, but that was just because she used her sacred gear to constantly keep her body in a healed state. Tsunade Senju, one of the 7 known users of the Twilight Healing Sacred Gear. She worked her ass off her entire life to achieve her balance breaker, though it was a subspecies balance breaker. Yet, here was a baby that was crawling on the floor in golden dragon armor with red gems on several places on his armor, like it was nothing. She was watching Naruto as his parents killed each other, though they never asked him to watch him, and boy was she surprised when the brat woke up, activated his balance breaker, and started to crawl around on the floor like a hyper child. She was very annoyed. TSA. Yeah, fuck you, brat. Tsunade watched as the child flaunted his balance breaker to her. She knew he didn't mean to annoy her. If anything, the child didn't know what he was doing. Of course, considering who his parents were, it was no surprise that activating his subspecies balance breaker was no big deal. The fact that his twilight healing took the form of golden dragon armor with red gems just showed how high his dragon affinity was. I wonder what this would be called. Twilight Saint affection. Yeah, that feels about right. Tsunade stated as she looked at the balance breaker. The user didn't name the balance breaker, the name came to them naturally. Since Tsunade had the same sacred gear, she could give a pretty good guess what the name of this balance breaker was. She didn't actually name her own balance breaker, her balance breaker came with its name inside of her brain. Heck, usually other people with the same sacred gear could usually make a guess at the name of a subspecies balance breaker. I'm back. Who was the winner? Tsunade asked when she heard Jiraiya's voice behind her. She could only guess that whoever won was in horrible condition, and needed to be healed. When Jiraiya was silent, she was given her answer and looked down at Naruto. Oh, Tsunade softly spoke. Kushina won, but she didn't survive long to celebrate. What are you doing here? Jiraiya asked Tsunade, who picked up Naruto and showed him to Jiraiya. He had an understanding face. I remember they were going to fight today, so I came to watch Naruto when they left. Did you know this brat activated his balance breaker? Tsunade asked Jiraiya with accusation in her tone. He shook his head. Jealous? Doesn't matter, hand Naruto to me, I'm going to take him to Ko, Jiraiya stated to Tsunade. She didn't. Ko is devil territory. You think some devil wouldn't love the chance to get the son of the dragon emperors in their peerage? Sorry, but that's a dumb idea. Tsunade rejected that idea and line of thought. Jiraiya took Naruto from her anyway, and turned around so that he could walk away. He felt her hand on his shoulder. It told him to explain. I have my reasons. Jiraiya didn't want to go into too much explanation that Tsunade wasn't going to like. He was very sure if he explained why he wanted to take Naruto to Ko, that she would beat him up for it. Oh right, Minato was born in Ko. Tsunade took a moment to realize that Ko was the location of where Minato was born, and it was where Kushina met Minato for the first time. That was a day to remember. She had actually been there when they met, and she saw the damage they did to each other. Jiraiya started to sweat nervously. His real reason? There were a lot of hot women in Ko. Now be sure to make a good first impression. You don't want to go your entire high school life being known as some no-good delinquent. After all, Naruto. Tsunade had to admit, it hadn't taken long for her to get attached to the little ball of energy that was her sort of grandchild. Seeing as Jiraiya was completely incompetent when it came to child raising, and he had no understanding of what it was like to have a sacred gear, she felt that her touch was needed. Originally, she had just planned to stay around long enough to make sure that Jiraiya learned how to raise a child. Though the years she spent with the boy had changed her original plans. Not that she would ever tell him how attached she had grown to him. His head was big enough already. He had grown to the point that he was even taller than his father, standing at a proud 5 feet 11 inches, tall compared to the vast majority of Japanese men. He had spiky blonde hair that was super messy, and sun-kissed peach skin like his father. With his blue eyes and his muscular frame, he looked like he wasn't Japanese. If anything, he looked like he had just came from America or something. Of course, he had his mother's beautiful face, and 3 whisker marks on each of his cheeks that came from seemingly nowhere. I like being a no-good delinquent though, Naruto told her with a grin, his mother's grin, and honestly Tsunade couldn't help but sigh. He was 19 years old and still attending high school thanks to the fact that he had been held back a year thanks to his habit of skipping school. That was going to cause rumors when people saw his looks and learned what his age was. Also, try not to attract the attention of any devils. This is still devil territory, and the last thing we need is some group trying to add you to their peerage. Tsunade wanted to beg him for this. Naruto had a horrible habit of drawing the wrong crowd to himself thanks to his powerful dragon aura. The dragon aura drawing both powerful allies and enemies to somebody. Naruto just grinned. Shit, not good. Naruto was smacked in the back of the head when Jiraiya came in through the front door. Naruto stopped grinning and looked at Jiraiya with sour eyes. Unless it is a peerage filled with tons of hot girls. Jiraiya corrected Tsunade, and Tsunade smacked Jiraiya in the back of the head, sending a glare his way. Jiraiya had been smacked so hard that he had went flying across the room, and had his head go through a wall. Naruto chuckled a little, before he turned around and started his way out the door. He loved seeing the pervy sage getting his ass beat by Tsunade. It was always super funny for him to see such a strong fighter get beaten by somebody weaker than himself. Naruto knew that if Tsunade and Jiraiya both fought each other seriously, that Tsunade would have no chance against the vastly more powerful Jiraiya. That was exactly why it was so funny seeing Tsunade beat Jiraiya. Ah, that's my school's uniform. Damn it, another damn handsome guy. Naruto looked towards the sound of the shout and saw a younger guy wearing the same uniform as him shouting out from the house next door to Naruto. Of course, unlike Naruto, this boy wore the uniform mostly correctly. Naruto was wearing the jacket to the uniform over his shoulders, and had the shirt unbuttoned to show his orange shirt underneath. The boy was a rather average-looking Japanese teen. He had slightly tanned skin with dark brown hair. He didn't really have much muscle, but he didn't have much fat either. He was just on the average scale. The boy was a good amount shorter than Naruto was, and he seemed to be about 17 years old. That's a pretty strong dragon aura he has. Must have a dragon-based sacred gear, or his parents must have dragon-based sacred gears. He seems super weak though, Naruto thought to himself when he glanced at the boy. Naruto shrugged his shoulders, not really caring to pick a fight with somebody weaker than himself without good reason. Handsome? I've never heard anyone call me that before. I've always been called that damn blondie or you punk, Naruto mused as he raised up conversation with the boy. No reason not to try and be a little friendly, since this boy had a dragon aura. That meant he was going to be attracting a lot of trouble in the future. You heard that? You screamed it. Naruto deadpanned when the boy started to sweat, realizing that he had shouted that out loud instead of in his head. The boy turned a little red before he paled when he looked up at Naruto once Naruto got in front of him. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, what's your name? Naruto asked as he greeted the boy. Huge, he must be a Japanese-American halfie. The boy thought as he looked up at Naruto, gulping when he saw Naruto's arms and how developed his muscles were compared to his own. Issei Haida, please don't beat me up for making fun of you, Issei asked with a low voice. Naruto laughed, and pat Issei on the shoulder. You're pretty nervous, aren't you? Don't worry about it, I'm not going to beat you up, Issei. Anyway, I'm going on ahead towards the school. Naruto waved off Issei as he continued on his way. Issei rubbed his shoulder. That hurt. First day at a new school, and I've already met a guy with the dragon aura. Maybe going to this school won't be such a bad idea, Naruto thought to himself. He had been completely hating the idea of going to another school. School was a boring place of learning, and he didn't care about any of that. He just wanted to train, get strong, maybe get a girlfriend, and fight strong people. He didn't care about learning or any of that, but a school filled with devils, a boy with a dragon aura, and who knows what else sounded really interesting to him. Dragon auras always attracted powerful enemies and allies. It was the way those with dragon auras lived their lives, meaning that this school had to have some really fun people attending it. Naruto walked absent-mindedly towards the school he would be attending. It was a rather short walk from his home to the school. He actually passed by the school a lot on his way to a different school. He knew the location, though he had never actually paid much attention to Koa Academy before, since until recently it was an all-girls school. So you like big tits, or small tits better? You're still here? Naruto asked when he realized that Issei was walking next to him. He hadn't been paying any attention to Issei at all. He saw Issei instantly realize just how little presence he had on Naruto's radar, considering he had been walking with Naruto for almost 5 minutes now. I'm sorry, what was the question? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow, since he hadn't heard what the question was. Big boobs or small ones, which do you like better? Issei deadpanned as he repeated himself, though different wording. Good question, never thought about it before. Does it really matter? Naruto questioned the very question. As far as it concerned him, it all depended on if they were perky, and if the breasts looked good on the girl's frame. He didn't want to see giant breasts on a petite girl, but he didn't want to see super tiny breasts on a girl with an hourglass figure either. Naruto actually felt Issei's dragon aura flare for a brief moment as his desire burst forth. Of course it matters. Breasts are all a man needs in life. Boobs are a treasure to be watched over, fantasized over, and coveted. Men only exist so that we may appreciate a nice set of titties, Issei proclaimed boldly, much to the disgust of several girls that were within ear distance of him. Issei paid all of them no mind though as he cried over the thought of breasts. One day, I want to build a harem of nice boobies all for myself. I'm going to be a harem king, Issei yelled out without hesitation. Naruto was silent. Well, can't say I don't like the ladies though. Issei here seems really focused on boobs, Naruto thought to himself with a small laugh. What? You don't think I can do it? Issei asked Naruto with a huff. Red. Ah. Boosted gear. Naruto realized when he saw the color red. He realized why he was sensing a dragon aura from Issei when he realized he could practically smell his mother's sacred gear coming off of Issei. It was completely inactive though, meaning that Issei had never activated it. Of course, that sucked for Issei since Naruto knew that the divine dividing user had already perfected his balance breaker. When the time came for their fight, Issei was going to get completely destroyed. His mother had been the strongest boosted gear user in history, and it would seem that he was in the presence of the weakest user in history. Huh? Issei scratched his head in confusion. Sorry, I just saw the color red and was reminded of something. Oh, it's hair. That girl right there has super red hair, and it's long, Naruto pointed out when he saw a girl's body. He had crimson red hair, similar to pictures he had seen of his mother, but more vibrant. It went completely down her back, framing her ass. She had an hourglass figure, a perfect hourglass figure, and wide hips, with a nicely shaped ass. She turned around and gave Naruto a raised eyebrow when she heard him speaking. Naruto noticed that she had a really huge set of breasts, perhaps the second largest set he had ever seen. Of course, it didn't come close to Tsunade's 103 cm knockers, but not many pairs could get to that size. Oh, that's Rias. She's like an idol at the school. She has super awesome boobs, and is one of the school's best students, Issei explained, and Naruto laughed. She's pretty, but for some reason when I looked at her, I can't help but think about her butt. The way her hair covers her round butt totally makes me think about tomatoes, Naruto said with a laugh, finger to the air as he chuckled at his own joke. The way her long crimson red hair went over her bubble but made him think of a tomato in both shape and color. Ria's cheeks turned into flames when she turned around and started to walk faster towards the school building. That's not important. What is important is how she has a huge pair of knockers. I mean, did you see them? I bet they have got to be the softest boobs in the school. What I wouldn't give to touch them. I would trade my soul for the chance to suck on those big, plump. Issei stopped when he saw Naruto walk a little faster towards Rias. He blinked in surprise, wondering what the new guy was going to do. Naruto tapped on Rias' shoulder. Rias hummed, her cheeks less red than a few moments previously. Hello, do you need something? Rias asked with a slightly forced smile on her face. Naruto raised his hand up and waved it. Yo, Naruto Uzumaki, nice to meet you. I'm new at this school, and I want to find a girl to be my girlfriend. You're really cute, so want to catch a movie later? Naruto asked her without a moment's notice. Issei's everyone looking at Naruto's actions had their jaws drop when they saw the new student at the school ask out one of the school idols. On his first day of school no less, and even said girl being asked was shocked by his actions. Her jaw was slightly slack as she looked up into his eyes. I am sorry? Rias asked a little confused. She had never been asked out like that before. I'm new to this school, but I've lived in this town most of my life. I really like your hair, and I want you to be my girlfriend, or at the very least go on a few dates with me. So what do you say, want to go to a movie after school? Naruto asked her casually, which only sent several people into a state of shock. Don't you usually only ask people to be your girlfriend when you like them? Rias questioned Naruto with surprise written clearly on her face. Naruto waved off her concern. I said I like your hair, right? I want to get to know you better, so I'm inviting you on a date. Doesn't have to be a movie, we could always go to the mall instead, since you would like that better. Naruto left Rias stunned for a moment, before she coughed into her hand, trying to hide her red cheeks. This was a new experience for her. She always got comments about her beauty from strangers, but nobody ever came to her and talked to her about her looks. Not to mention nobody had actually had the courage to ask her out on a date before. You're a very direct person, Uzumaki-san. Flick. Rias yelped when Naruto flicked her forehead, a displeased look on his face when he did so. She looked at him, stepping back with both hands on her forehead. It's Naruto or Naruto-kun. I don't care about honorifics and stuff like that. So how about it? Want to meet me after school, Rias? Naruto asked her one final time, and she looked at him with his hand extended. She blinked in surprise when she realized that he had used her name without any honorifics, taking his earlier words and present actions as confirmation he was telling her the truth. Well, it would seem he was a very honest and direct man. I guess it wouldn't hurt. Sure, I'll meet you in front of the school after school. I'll go on a date with Yuzu. Flick. Naruto-kun. Rias corrected herself, and she saw Naruto smile in response, giving her a big thumbs up for her correct use of words. Well, I'll see you after school, but I have to get to class now. Rias waved at Naruto as she started to walk away. Wonder if her hair is natural? Naruto asked himself out loud. Dude! What the hell? How the fuck did you just score a date with Rias Gremory? Issei screamed as he ran at Naruto and grabbed his shirt. I asked her? Naruto answered with a raised eyebrow of his own. It wasn't hard to figure out how he did it. He walked up to her, was honest, and asked her out on a date. He did what he felt in his gut was the thing to do. She was cute, so I didn't think there was any harm in at least asking her out. I mean, the worst thing that could happen was her saying no, right? So why not go for it? Anyway, I got to get to class now, so I'll see you later, Breast Dragon Emperor. Naruto waved off Issei. Breast Dragon Emperor? Issei scratched the top of his head in confusion. What? In class? Oh, this is just my luck. Rias thought when she saw Naruto standing at the front of the class, her cheeks completely red in embarrassment when she realized she was seeing Naruto before their date. Name's Naruto, nice to meet all of you. If any of you ever wants to fight me, I'm happy to kick your ass across the school. Hey Rias, what a stroke of luck. Naruto waved to Rias when he noticed her in the classroom. Fighting is against the rules, Uzumaki-san. Anyway, there's an open seat next to Gremory-san, so if you'll take your seat. Naruto grinned. This was turning out to be an interesting day for him. Dude! What? Naruto asked when he felt a hand slapping his back. He raised an eyebrow when he saw Issei looking like he was a combination of about to explode and constipated. The boy looked like he wanted to both hail him as a hero and curse him as if he were an evil overlord. It was actually a really funny thing to see. Issei held the palm of his hand, pain from slapping Naruto's back. He looked at Naruto, who was completely unfazed by the slap. He had put everything that he could into that back slap, and Naruto was still calmly eating his lunch. Dude, you have to teach me how you did what you did. You haven't even been here a full day, and you've already scored a date with the hottest girl in the school. How? Issei dropped down to his knees and begged for the knowledge. Naruto raised an eyebrow. I asked? It's not that big of a deal, trust me. I've done way more impressive things than get a date with a pretty girl. Naruto mentioned with a roll of his eyes. I would like to hear some of those things. Oh, hey Rias, and Naruto tilted his head when he looked at the girl that was standing next to Rias. Both Rias and this new girl both had lunch trays, showing that they had bought their lunches. Akino Himejima, nice to meet you Uzumaki-kun. Akino, a girl that was actually a good deal shorter than Rias, spoke politely. She had long black hair, but strangely violet eyes. Her body measurements seemed to almost be on par with Rias in most areas, the only area truly surpassing Rias being her bust line. She was a size larger than Rias' own impressive boss Sam. I hear you asked Bucho out on a date. I'm curious what you think is more impressive than that. Akino introduced herself and her intentions. Naruto waved at her. Naruto smacked Issei on the back of the head. Hey! Issei shouted in pain when he glared at Naruto. You were staring, take a seat. Naruto gestured to the seats across from himself, and even Issei sat down next to him. He smiled sheepishly when he realized he had been caught staring at Akino and Rias' breasts once more. I don't mean to brag, but I've got a pretty mean list of accomplishments. Naruto raised his nose up in the air with a grin on his face. Akino giggled at his bravado. So confident. You're about to brag, I take it? Rias questioned him, and Naruto took a yo-yo out of his pocket and placed it on the table between their lunches. A yo-yo? At the school I went to before this one, I threw the entire school into chaos. I challenged the strongest, most talented fighters in their fields of expertise and beat all of them. Naruto explained, while Issei just looked at the yo-yo. Okay, but the yo-yo? You seem like the athletic type. Rias agreed, and Naruto nodded. I defeated the school's strongest wrestler in wrestling, defeated the school's best swordsman in swordsmanship, beat the entire basketball club by myself, defeated Rock Lee and his entire soccer team, defeated the martial arts club by myself, and took down the sumo club in sumo. Naruto explained with a grin on his face. He raised his arm up and rolled up his sleeve, flexing his muscle and showing off his body a little. Shit, Naruto cursed when he realized that he had just attracted the attention of all of the girls by showing off his body. Anyway, there were only 2 people at the Konoha Academy that could give me a challenge, Niji Hyuga, and my rival. Naruto explained further. Akino covered her mouth. Wow, Niji Hyuga is considered one of Japan's #1 martial arts experts. Also, Rock Lee is one of Japan's best soccer players. Akino was a little surprised when she heard those names amongst the list. Rias tilted her head and bit her lip in thought as she tried to recall where she had heard of that name, the name of his previous school. It was a school that was located in Ko, but she had never actually been to the school before. You must be very talented, Akino commented. You'll see soon enough. Dude, creepy, Issei whispered to Naruto when he saw that savage smile that Naruto showed off. What? I wasn't being creepy. Naruto coughed into his hand and regained his composure for a moment, before he grinned to himself. And the yo-yo? Rias asked as she picked it up and looked at it. It was an old, worn-out yo-yo, but it was just that. It was a normal yo-yo in every way. Naruto took it from her and placed it back into his pocket. Actually, why did you fight so many people before coming here? Rias asked him for a little more detail. She believed him, he didn't seem like he was lying, and the powerful aura that he gave off didn't seem like it was just for show either. If anything, he was an extremely talented fighter just by looking at his body alone. You could see the years of training that he must have gone through to attain his body. Oh, I once beat an entire gang using nothing but yo-yos. It was actually really easy, didn't even break a sweat. Naruto waved that off as if it were the least important thing that he had done. He kept it as a reminder of how he defeated an entire gang of thugs by himself. How about you, Issei? You ever get into any good fights? Naruto asked Issei. The boy had a dragon aura, he had to have at least been in a fight before now, even if it would have been a rather weak opponent. I'm not exactly built for fighting, Issei pointed out. Naruto sighed. I can't help but feel sorry for you. Naruto just sighed, figuring that the boosted gear was in a dormant state at the moment. Issei's dragon aura was extremely weak, so he must have barely ever, if at all, used his sacred gear. He felt pity for Drag, the dragon must be crying tears of shame for who its current user was. Rias raised an eyebrow and glanced at Issei. What? He must have a sacred gear, more than likely one that increases his physical abilities twice critical? He has a dragon aura, Rias thought as she looked at Naruto with calculative eyes as Naruto stole some of Issei's meal without the boy noticing. Issei noticed his 2 were glaring at him, and Naruto, with jealousy and anger. He looked towards them and sent them a shrug, sadly, that only got them more annoyed. They picked up an apple and orange from their lunches, and took aim towards Naruto. While Naruto had just been talking about all of the fights he had been in, the only people close enough to make out his words had been those sitting at the table. Naruto. Naruto caught the apple just as Rias and Akino noticed it had been thrown. Naruto threw the apple and hit the orange in the air, before he jumped up out of his seat. He kicked the apple and set it flying, before he spun in the air and kicked the orange. His kicks were fast enough that it was barely even a moment before both the apple and the orange were sent right back at the boys who had thrown them. The fruits nailing them both in the faces with enough force to knock them out of their seats, with bleeding noises. That was so freaking cool. Issei was used to being betrayed by his friends whenever one of them would get caught peeping on girls. Never before had he actually seen them get their just deserts for being traitors. They got beat for being perverts, but never for being traitors like that. He had to ask Naruto where he learned that. Really impressive. Akino gave a small clap of her hands. Human or not, what Naruto just did showed an impressive amount of spatial awareness, and both a great amount of skill combined with sharp reflexes. Naruto smiled and rubbed the back of his head. If your dating skills match your martial arts, then I'm looking forward to this evening. Rias decided that she would try and figure out if Naruto had a sacred gear later. Of course, she stood up, since now that Naruto had just sent 2 fruit flying across the lunchroom, all eyes were on their table. For once, people were staring at her direction and it wasn't focused on lust towards her. Even Issei felt weird with people looking in his direction and that feeling they showed on their face not being discussed. Maybe not that good anyway, I'm looking forward to the date. After I get done conquering all of the clubs at this school, I'm going to need a break. Come on Issei, I need somebody to witness my domination. Naruto stood up and grabbed Issei by the shoulder. He wasn't giving the boy a choice in the matter. Wait, why me? Because you might learn something. See you later Rias. Sorry other girl, I already forgot your name. I promise I'll remember it next time. Naruto apologized to Akino as he started to drag Issei off. Bucho, if he's going to challenge all of the clubs, doesn't that mean that he's going to challenge our club? Akino asked Rias with a concerned look on her face, as if they didn't already have problems to worry about. It wouldn't be good for a human to be snooping into their club activities, even once as skilled as Naruto seemed to be. Wait, Naruto Uzumaki, where have I heard that last name before? Akino asked herself out loud when she realized that she had heard that last name. It's the clan name that produced the previous Red Dragon Emperor, the Queen of Terror, the strongest existence, Kushina Uzumaki. It's likely just a coincidence, since she died after defeating the White Dragon Emperor in a final showdown. The Uzumaki family were all wiped out after she died. Rias knew the story of the previous Red Dragon Emperor. Nobody didn't know of her. She claimed the top spot as the strongest of the strong. Her strength could only be challenged by her rival Minato Namikaze, and she killed him in their final battle, a battle so grande that it wiped out a chain of islands from existence. Kushina was feared to the point that after her death, the Uzumaki family was wiped out to prevent anyone like her from being born. Heck, she was battle-obsessed, so there was no man strong enough that would be able to make her fall in love. The only man that Rias could think of capable of such a thing would be the White Dragon Emperor, and the likelihood of that happening was almost zero. What were the odds that he was her son? Feel free to challenge me if you want your stuff back. Naruto waved off the tennis club as he left the club sweating and panting, on their knees from the sheer exhaustion of trying their hardest to keep up with him. Naruto was grinning as he placed the items he took from the defeated club in his bag of victory trophies. Every club he went to he challenged them, and he made sure to place a pretty large bet on the line. So far, all of the clubs he had challenged had been defeated by him and had their side of the bet collected. Of course, if they ever wanted their stuff back, they just needed to challenge him and wager something else, and then defeat him. Okay, so you've beaten the swim club, the baseball club, the basketball club, the soccer club, the track club, and now you've taken down the tennis club. Now all you need to do is take down the girls' Kendo club and you'll have taken down all of the sports clubs we have. Issei watched as Naruto looked at his collected trophies. He was surprised that Naruto had been able to take down all of the clubs without even breaking a sweat. And they're perhaps the scariest club. Issei shivered when he remembered some rather unpleasant beatings that he had been given. You get caught peeping 6 times, and suddenly you get labeled a pervert that deserves to be beaten on sight. Thinking on that, Issei could understand why he was labeled a pervert. I'm going to take down all of the clubs, and after that I'm taking down the student council. Naruto walked towards the next building. He could see it was a more traditional Japanese building, so it wasn't hard to guess that it was the girls' Kendo club. He could hear the sounds of wood hitting against wood. Naruto had a savage grin on his face, thinking of what he would be taking from the Occult Research Club. Occult Research had to be a club that had some nice stuff that he could get as a trophy, and of course he was going to take control of the student council once he defeated the president of the group. You're crazy. No, I'm ambitious, there is a difference. Naruto corrected Issei as he opened the sliding door to the training room. He could see 2 girls decked out in gear trying to hit each other with their wooden swords. They didn't stop when he entered the room, but the rest of the club looked towards him with surprise when they noticed him enter. Thwack. The practice match was finished with the taller of the 2 girls hit the other on her armored head. Don't beat me. I'm not peeking right now, Issei shouted when the girls saw him and prepared to raise their swords against him. Naruto raised his arm up in front of Issei and grinned. And if you do, don't aim for the face and balls. Issei whimpered when he continued to see those glares. Naruto glanced at him with a raised eyebrow. I'm here to challenge your club to a contest of your choice. I want to fight your strongest club member, or all of you," Naruto declared as the winner of the duel between the girls started to walk towards him. She unveiled herself as she removed her helmet, her long brown hair cascading down her back. "You're the new student, right? Naruto Uzumaki? I've heard about you going around and challenging the other clubs. I'm Murayama, the club captain." Murayama introduced herself. She extended her hand to Naruto in a show of respect. Unlike Issei, Naruto hadn't done anything to prove himself a pervert. She was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt based on the fact he had yet to do anything truly bad. Of course, according to the rumors that were already flying around, he was beating one club after another without mercy. Naruto shook her hand. "You want to take my challenge? Since it seems like none of you like Issei, if you win I'll give Issei to you as a practice dummy." Naruto let go of her hand and crossed his arms, gesturing towards Issei with a twitch of his head. "Hey!" Murayama considered it for a moment, as she glared at Issei with a hateful passion. Issei flinched back in fear from her gaze, and he looked away, only to jump when he saw many of the other girls smiling just as hatefully. "That's a really tempting offer that's too tempting to pass up. Fine, I'll take your bet. What do you want from me if I lose?" Murayama asked as she imagined all of the nasty things that she could do to Issei with her shurnai. Like hitting him between the legs until his became completely useless. Oh, how she would enjoy just taking out all of her frustrations out on Issei. "Naruto, take their underwear!" Issei shouted at Naruto with a bleeding nose. "Pervert. Why? They're just panties. Well, this is the girls' Kendo club. Taking their shurnai would make it impossible for them to practice. Sure, if I lose I'll be taking all of your panties." Naruto shrugged, not really caring. He walked towards the middle of the room and picked up the defeated girl's shurnai. He removed her helmet, and showed a rather attractive short-haired girl underneath. He placed the helmet over his head, and raised the shurnai up. Murayama raised an eyebrow and raised her shurnai up, putting her helmet back on when she noticed that he didn't bother putting on anything but the helmet. Of course, her cheeks were burning red. "Pervert." Murayama had a small smile on her face. "That was not hate-filled. Oh come on, why does he get a free pass for perverted stuff, and I get my ass beat?" Issei screamed at the annoyance of it all. The defeated girl stood up and got out of the way. "You agree with me, right, Kates?" Issei asked as he looked at the girl. He knew the names of all of the girls that kicked his ass. "You were the one who suggested the panties. Also, he isn't being a pervert about it, and he's really good looking, unlike you average san." Kates spoke up with a glare at Issei for using her name so impolitely, as if they were friends. She looked towards Naruto's body, and her cheeks turned red when he took his shirt off. "The first to 3 wins, and as a handicap, I'll give you 2 free hits." Naruto spoke as he tossed his shirt to the side and placed his finger right at the center of his chest. Murayama had stopped. Dear God, those abs! I bet he could make a girl come just by letting her grind herself on those abs. Murayama's face was on fire underneath her helmet as she looked over his body. She looked at that smirk, she could see his smirk through the slits in the helmet, and just that confidence he was displaying was hotter than even his body. "You act like you're going to win." Murayama spoke as she grabbed her shurnai with both hands. Thwack. She smacked it into his ribs, and her eyes widened a little when her attack didn't even so much as make him flinch. She saw the small ripple as his muscles automatically tensed up at being attacked. "I like giving all my opponents a chance, that way nobody can complain when I beat them," Naruto stated as she attacked the other side of his ribs. The loud thwack causing several girls to wince in pain, understanding just how much that could hurt. Naruto then raised the shurnai he was using up. "Now just say when we start," Naruto told Murayama as he looked at her, not bothering to put his shirt back on. Might as well give her some eye candy so that she would take her defeat better. "Now!" Murayama shouted as she ran at Naruto, taking a very good, firm stance as she prepared a fierce stab at his center of gravity. Thwack. Murayama didn't know what happened next. The next thing she knew was the fact that the side of her head hurt, and she was laying on the ground. She saw that Naruto had taken a single step to the right, her shurnai having missed him. She also saw that he had kept the shurnai extended, showing that he had whacked her hard enough to knock her over, and with enough speed so that she couldn't react. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked as Murayama stood back up, recovering from her stunned state. She returned to a battle stance. Okay, so she wasn't dealing with a cocky fool, she was dealing with a talented martial artist who had mastered the sword. Yeah? Murayama was no longer focused on his body, the throbbing feeling in the side of her head reminding her that now was not the time to be distracted. She was going to remember the bruise he gave her. She looked for any weaknesses in his stance. Even though he was standing regularly with only one hand on the sword, she couldn't tell if he had actually dropped his guard. She doubted it. Then it's my turn, Naruto told her. He launched his attack, taking a single large step towards her. She was able to see him raise the shurnai above his head. She raised her own up to block, only for Naruto to spin as he swung downward. Instead of a downward slash, he made a sweeping slash. He slid underneath her guard completely, and she had the wind knocked out of her when she was knocked off of her feet by the second blow. Dude, hold back a little, she's a girl. Issei felt sorry for the girl that he was usually beaten by as she hit the ground, rolling onto her hands and feet, trying to get her breath back. I am holding back though anyway, I don't care if she's a woman. All those who want to practice combat need to be willing to get a little hurt. I'm taking her as seriously as I would take any guy opponent. If I don't take her seriously, then I'm disrespecting her as a warrior. Naruto lectured Issei as he waited for Murayama to get her breath back and stand back up. He didn't take his eyes off of her, knowing that him talking to Issei could give her the chance to launch a surprise attack. He wasn't going to hold back his skill, but he wasn't going to try and seriously injure her either. She was going to be pretty bruised, but nothing that a week or two wouldn't heal. Murayama coughed as she stood back up. I wouldn't mind being disrespected right now, those attacks really hurt. Murayama couldn't help herself but say. Also look, something distracting. Murayama knew what she was doing was playing dirty, but she didn't want to give up her panties, and force the rest of the club to give up their panties, because she was defeated. Sometimes you needed to play dirty. Something distracting? Naruto looked towards the window she was pointing to. She charged at him, and he blocked her blow when she swung at him. He deflected her blow to the side, forcing her to overextend her body. Naruto didn't even look at her as he lightly poked her in the sternum, since she did tell him that she didn't mind being disrespected. He kept her from falling down, and defeated her. I can't believe I fell for that. Naruto would admit that he was easily distracted. I can't believe you fell for that and I still lost. Murayama muttered to herself. Yes, dude, you just won all of their panties from them. Nuh. Issei, stop being a pervert and look at the time. I guess I'll have to challenge the other clubs tomorrow. By the time you all change and give me your panties, I'll have to get ready for my date. Naruto wasn't in too much of a hurry to completely conquer the school's student body. He had a date he needed to get ready for. Your house? Yeah, sorry Rias, we just need to make a quick stop by my house so I can drop off my trophies and get changed. Naruto apologized to Rias as the two of them walked together. She had changed into a rather nice frilled, dark blue and purple shirt, with short jean shorts that hugged her but nicely. She had changed into her casual clothes at school. Why she had her casual clothes there was a surprise and raised questions for him. The sports clubs were a lot easier to conquer than I thought they would be. Got myself a lot of victory trophies. Naruto raised the bag up that he was holding on his back. Rias nodded her head and looked at the stuffed full bag, guessing that Naruto had claimed his trophies from quite a few clubs. She could only guess his reaction when he came to her club and challenged them to something. Most boys wait until the 5th date before introducing the girl to their family, you know. Rias tried her hand at teasing. Naruto shrugged. Feel free to wait outside then. I doubt anyone is home anyway. Naruto mentioned as his house came into view. Rias rubbed her head when she felt a pounding headache coming on. She looked towards a house that had a rather old motorcycle out on the front of it. She felt a rather ominous feeling coming from the house in general, and she hoped against hope that it wasn't the house that she was stopping at. The chill down her spine, and goosebumps that came over her body, was enough to tell her that some rather powerful holy artifacts were at the house. Please don't turn left, crap. Naruto turned left, and walked towards the front door. You okay? Naruto asked Rias with a raised eyebrow. Your family isn't super religious, are they? Rias asked with a look around. She saw a cross hanging over the front door, already knowing the answer to her question from that alone. Not to mention the powerful feeling that she got from the house only got more dangerous when she stepped closer and closer. She looked up at the cross, it reflected in her eyes as it gave off that dangerous glint. Nope. Oh, thank. Granny isn't religious, but she's always saying how much she hates stuff like devils. Naruto mentioned with a wave of his hand. He opened the front door and walked right in. Naruto gestured for Rias to come inside, and she hesitated for a moment, before she walked in and was hit by the smell of booze. Well, Granny is home. Naruto took his shoes off and stepped into the hallway to the living room. He could smell the booze, meaning that she had already returned, and gotten herself drunk. Rias followed after him into the living room, where she laid her eyes on somebody that made her raise an eyebrow. There was an attractive woman just laying across the couch in nothing but her shirt and her panties. She wasn't even wearing sexy panties, just comfortable panties that looked like they belonged on an older woman. The woman shared similar blonde hair to Naruto, so maybe his mother? Hey Granny, get your ass up, we have company. Naruto kicked Tsunade off of the couch as he passed by her. Fucking brat, respect your elders. Tsunade shouted as she was rudely awoken from her slumber. She grabbed her sake bottle and threw it at Naruto. She woke with a thunder, already annoyed by being kicked off the couch. Naruto caught the bottle and tossed it back to her, and when she caught it she took a large swig from it directly. Company? Tsunade asked as she looked towards Rias. Rias tried to make herself smaller. This was fucking Tsunade Senju, the supernatural world's greatest healer. Possessor of the Twilight Healing Sacred Gear, with legends saying that she had once healed an entire army by herself. The woman was in her 60s, but somehow she didn't look a day over her 20s, meaning the rumors that she had mastered her sacred gear to the point she had healed her aging body were true. Hello, I'm a friend of Naruto's from school. Rias gave a polite bow to Tsunade. She was on a list of humans you did not piss off. You seem familiar. Oh well, whatever, I'm going back to sleep. Don't wake me with your fucking. Tsunade laid back down, not caring why the girls seemed familiar to her. She hugged the bottle she was holding to her chest and turned on her side away from them. Naruto palmed his face at her. I'll be back in a moment, Naruto mentioned as he went towards the stairs, and Rias followed after him. You know I'm changing my clothes, right? Naruto asked her, and she waved off his concerns. She didn't want to be in the same room as a drunk Tsunade for long if she could help it. I'm curious about your trophy collection. Rias made her best excuse. It was a good one, and she got her look at his trophies when he got to his room. For a delinquent, she was surprised at how clean his room was. She saw a shelf that was filled with random objects and pictures. Naruto walked towards it and opened his bag up, beginning to place the objects in the bag onto the shelf. Rias raised an eyebrow when she saw Naruto putting a pile of panties on the shelf, her confusion being answered moments later. Issei had the idea of making the Kendo club give up their underwear for losing. Honestly, I don't care of anything. A trophy is a trophy. Naruto took his shirt off and tossed it onto the floor. His room. Speaking of which, Issei lives right next door, right? You must be close friends with him. Rias knew where all of the people of interest lived. Issei was actually somebody who was suspected of having a powerful sacred gear. He was on her list of potential candidates for peerage filler. She just needed more time to observe him, and see if she could use anything to make him willing to join her peerage. Of course, the way you poke fun at him. Met him today, the Red-Ape Emperor isn't really the type of guy I usually hang out with. Naruto shot down Rias' theory as he grabbed a new shirt, a very casual one, and threw it on. As much as Rias could appreciate his muscular body, she wasn't put into a hot and bothered state by it as other women had been during the day. If anything, she was able to appreciate the amount of work that went into his body. Red-Ape Emperor? That was a strange nickname. Those are. Rias stopped when she looked towards his bed, and hanging above his bed she saw two very distinct swords. The strongest demon sword, Gram. One of the 4 great holy swords, Ascalon. The holy aura coming off of Ascalon was no doubt the true source of how uncomfortable she had felt inside his home. Looking at the sword was enough to put her on edge, even more when she saw Naruto walk towards the swords and take them off of the wall. She was a little surprised when she saw him holding both of the swords, since to have a holy and demon affinity was rather unheard of in general. Actually, it was impossible considering that God would never allow somebody with a demon affinity to hold and wield a holy sword of such power. This is my mom's sword, Gram, and this is my dad's sword, Ascalon. They are pretty strong swords, but honestly I prefer to use my fists to fight. Want to hold them? Naruto offered to allow her to hold them. Rias stepped back subconsciously as she shook her head negative. Naruto placed them back on the wall, on their wall hangers, before he put on a jacket over his shirt. Anyway, I'm finished, so let's head out. Almost forgot my keys. Naruto grabbed his keys off of his dresser. Rias stared at the swords on the wall with a frown on her face for a moment, before she looked at the increasingly mysterious Naruto as he led her out of his room. Her eyes widened. On the back of his jacket was a red spiral, the symbol of the Uzumaki clan. The clan that had been wiped out. The clan that had produced the world's strongest fighters, and had spawned the legendary Kushina Uzumaki, the strongest Red Dragon Emperor in history. A woman powerful enough that she had claimed the spot as the strongest existence. That's a pretty unique jacket, especially the symbol on the back. Rias mentioned as she followed him down the stairs. The more she learned, the more questions she had. This? It's my mom's old jacket. She was a tomboy back in the day apparently. This was actually a gift from my dad to my mom. He made it himself according to Granny. Naruto showed off his jacket with a grin. It was his favorite jacket, a black jacket with orange sleeves, and his family crest on the back. Rias nodded her head slowly. Wow, just wow, she didn't know that such a big player was transferring into the school. A human from the Uzumaki family, which was well known for producing powerful humans. The very reason why they were wiped out, fear that they would produce another person on par with Kushina and wipe out the other supernatural races. Who are your parents? I noticed there aren't any pictures of them on the wall. Rias asked out of actual curiosity. The only pictures she was seeing was of Naruto and Tsunade, with some pictures of an older man mixed in on occasion. She even saw a picture of Naruto standing with a blonde-haired girl with lavender eyes, wearing a shrine maiden outfit. She didn't see any pictures of Naruto's parents though, or anyone that looked like they could be his parents. Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. What? Rias asked, now very sure she heard that incorrectly. Since Naruto just stated the name of the red and white dragon emperors who claimed the titles of strongest. Humans who became so strong that they could fight on par with their inner dragons without using their sacred gears, and with their sacred gears had the power to become unchallenged. Two rival existences that would never fall in love with each other because of their very existence shouldn't allow it. The odds were so stacked against it, that it was considered next to impossible for a white dragon emperor and red dragon emperor to fall in love, and it was even harder to believe that they fell in love considering they killed each other. She had to have heard Naruto wrong. My mom is Kushina Uzumaki, and my dad is Minato Namikaze. Are you okay? You look pale. Naruto noticed some of the color draining from Ria's skin. She was blinking rapidly as her brain tried to process just who Naruto's parents were. As much as she tried to think on it though, the more her brain rejected the possibility of it. No, he had no reason to lie to her about it. Are you sure those are their names? Rias asked with a shaky voice. Naruto looked amused. Yeah, pretty sure I know my folks' names. Do you need me to take you home? We can always reschedule. Naruto pointed out, and Rias stood straight up. Wow, sorry, I just wasn't expecting that. You have a pretty interesting family. Rias spoke as they left the house and started to make their way to Naruto's motorcycle. Naruto shrugged. Honestly, I love my mom and dad, but at the same time I'm not going to say they were good parents to me. Naruto spoke with a deep frown. She could see the resentment there, but she knew it wasn't her place to ask. Rias frowned. She could tell that he wasn't telling her everything, and while that was fine since they barely knew each other, she hoped he would open up to her more. He seemed like a very fun, interesting guy. Even now, she saw him change his frown into a smile and slap his cheeks, before he turned to her. Screw all of that, we still have a date to go on. Come on, let's go have some fun. Naruto told her, and she smiled. That was right, they were on a date. She could think about all of the complicated stuff later. Wow, I never knew this place existed. Rias was pleasantly surprised at the place that Naruto took her for dinner. She had been expecting just some trip to a fast food place, since it was quick and easy. It was just a spur-of-the-moment date after all. She didn't expect anything really grande or fancy. One couldn't really call the place grande or fancy, but it was far more classy than just taking a person to a fast food location. She had thought she knew all of the stores and places at and around the mall, but surprise, there was a ramen stand she never knew existed. Yeah, this place serves some pretty amazing ramen. Naruto looked at the bowl of his favorite food with more affection than Rias had seen Naruto display since meeting him. He had already paid for their food. One of the stand's policies was paying for the food before you got it. Since there was a no refund and no complaint policy, surprising for Rias to see such a thing. The rules were simple. You didn't order the ramen, the chef made the ramen, and then gave it to you. You didn't get to pick a flavor, you didn't get to pick the toppings, and you didn't get to pick the size. Everything was picked for you, and if you complained you were banned from the stand for life. If I don't place an order, how does he know what I want? Rias asked as a bowl was placed in front of her. It was 2 sizes smaller than the bowl that Naruto had, and she could see that the contents were different as well. While Naruto's was full of ingredients and different toppings, her dish was rather moderate about it. Her noodles were thicker, and had absorbed the broth more to allow her to have more ease with eating it, and she could see generous amounts of vegetables in it. She had a rather healthy version of the ramen that Naruto was having. Oh, and word to the wise, if you don't slurp when you eat, the chef takes it as an insult. Naruto mentioned, and Rias nodded her head. She slurped up her first group of noodles. Oh my word, this is amazing, this is the best ramen I've ever had. Rias whispered in awe as she looked into the contents of the bowl. She looked at Naruto, and saw that he was slurping away at his noodles. This is really light on the stomach, but it has such a delicate balance of flavors that all complement each other. It matches my tastes perfectly. Rias marveled at how skilled the chef must be to have created this. So she continued to eat, being sure to slurp the way that Naruto was, though she was pretty sure that was just the normal way you were supposed to eat ramen politely. She was sad when she finished the ramen, and she looked to see Naruto bring the bowl to his lips and drink the broth. So she copied him and lifted her own bowl to her lips, and when she finished, she found that she couldn't eat another bite if she tried. Belch. Rias blushed and covered her mouth when she burped at the same time as Naruto, and Naruto sent her a thumbs up. You're not Japanese, so you wouldn't know this, but it's actually a way to show the food is good by burping. Naruto told her, before he stood up and gestured for her to as well. He placed his bowl back on the counter. She could now see why Naruto liked this place so much. It was pretty obvious. You didn't need to do anything but pay for the food, and you would be given exactly what you wanted, in the exact amount that would fill your stomach. She didn't know how the ramen maker did it, but he was somehow able to discover a way to predict what customers would want, and the amount they could handle. It was just sit back, relax, and be given exactly what you needed. It might be Japanese polite, but it's rude in most other places. If my mother heard me burp, she would have scolded me for it. Rias informed Naruto of the way her family would have seen her accidental action. She placed her hand against the side of her head, and laughed at her own imagination. Naruto just raised an eyebrow. Scold you for burping? Your mom sounds pretty uptight. Naruto could imagine an older, more uptight, Rias as Rias' mother. It was a pretty funny image in his head, to be honest. So Rias, you know a little about my family situation, tell me a little about yours. Naruto told her as the two of them walked side by side through the mall. Rias hummed for a moment. That sounded fair, but she didn't really want to talk about herself. She wanted to learn more about him right now. Not to mention she didn't really want to talk about her family at the moment either. How about Rias started to suggest, before she felt the tingling feeling of anticipation go down her spine. Her sense placed on alert when she sensed one of her mortal enemies nearby. She stopped talking and started to look around, trying to find the source of her tingling senses. The feeling she got was only something that she ever got when a fallen angel, or an angel were nearby, those with the powers of holy, or holy artifacts in general. Dragons attract powerful enemies and allies, Rias whispered to herself as she glanced at Naruto. Naruto grinned when he heard her whisper. Oh, there is an enemy nearby. Fighting in the middle of the mall means they are trying to make us hold back to not kill anyone. A hostage situation. Naruto mentioned when he glanced all around at the unsuspecting mall patrons. Rias looked at Naruto in surprise when she heard the way he didn't seem to care about the lives of those around him. She would have assumed that he would hold himself back to not hurt others. Was she wrong? She looked around, before she looked up and saw 3 fallen angels flying above the mall. They were hard to now that it was becoming night, but there they were. They were also rapidly approaching the mall itself. Naruto crossed his arms when he followed her gaze and saw them. You're taking this calmly? Rias stated, and Naruto shrugged. There is a group of powerful assassins after me. 3 little birds isn't really anything to be worried about. Naruto revealed that information lightly. He did so with a mild wave of his hand, as if his information hadn't just made Rias look at him strangely. The way you reacted to my swords earlier means you know about the supernatural. You have a way to put them all to sleep? Naruto asked Rias as the fallen angels above them landed on the roof of the mall. 2 females and a male. You must have a powerful sacred gear if you want to fight 3 fallen angels. Rias pointed out as the mall patrons started to fall asleep. Rias used her magic to put all of the nearby people to sleep, and the magic would keep spreading until it got to everyone in the mall. Once people started to fall asleep in mass quantities, the fallen angels broke a hole in the glass ceiling and descended down towards them. Naruto smirked. Nope, my sacred gear is focused on healing. Without using my balance breaker, I have almost no way to use my sacred gear for offense. Naruto cracked his knuckles as he spoke. Naruto grabbed the hem of his shirt, before he flung it off of his body and threw it at Rias. Out of pure instinct she caught his shirt, and sent him a curious look. So what do you little birds want? Naruto asked the fallen angels as he glanced between them. Yug, I hate arrogant humans. She is just adorable, Rias, I can't fight her. Naruto stated as he looked at the youngest-looking fallen angel. He looked back at Rias with the most deadpan expression that she could imagine. The short, lowly blonde fallen angel didn't know how to respond to his statement. Look at her, she's super tiny like super tiny. Naruto smiled as he looked at the girl. She summoned a spear of light and threw it at Naruto, and he didn't even bother moving out of the way when it stuck itself into his chest. Naruto! Oh look, I've been impaled, she's still super cute, and I refuse to fight her. I can fight the other two though. Naruto mentioned as he pointed at the grown woman and the man. He had no problems hitting a grown woman, he just didn't hit the cute young ones. I'm 300 years old. Naruto puked up blood, and Rias stared at him with a surprised look. She looked at him instantly go pale at her revelation. That's the most damage you've done to me, Naruto admitted to the girl as he pulled the spear out of his chest. 2 rings appeared on his hands, and he placed one against his chest. Rias watched as the hole in his chest began to regenerate. Moments later the hole in his chest was healed up, and he was ready to battle again. So Rias, these people your enemies or what? I don't recognize any of them. Naruto spoke to Rias. He caught a light spear thrown at him. He flung it back at them and nailed the grown woman between the eyes, her own spear lodging itself in her head. The other 2 fallen angels were instantly on high alert when one of their own was killed. They're members of Grigori, but I don't know what they are doing here. Donasek is the male, and woman you killed is Kalwarner, and the one you don't want to fight is Middlet. Rias explained what she did know about their enemies, their names, and that was it. She didn't really know much about them other than that. They weren't really that powerful, and they weren't really famous. What are you all even doing here? This isn't fallen angel territory. Rias pointed out politely to the enemy. Naruto started to walk towards them. No reason you need to be concerned with, we're after him. If you will come with us peacefully, it won't have to get messy, Donasek pointed out. He blinked. The next second, Naruto was standing in front of him, nose to nose with him. He yelped and backed up several steps. He summoned a spear to his hand, and Middle reacted in a similar way. Naruto grabbed Donasek by the head with one hand, before he slammed it into his knee. Crunch. Donasek's face caved into his skull, with bone fragments shooting out of the back of his head. His corpse falling to the ground when Naruto let go of his head. Naruto looked towards Middlet, and she took a step back. That was messy, Naruto. I think you should finish off. Rias was interrupted moments later. You're so damn cute, Middlet. Look at this tiny body. Naruto scooped Middlet up into a hug, restraining her arms as he rubbed his cheek up against hers. Ayayawa. Ha 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 ha, so cute. Naruto shouted out as his hands roamed, one of his hands going to her breast, while the other groped her thigh. Naruto laughed nearby the entire time he was doing it, while Rias just watched, her reaction going blank as she didn't quite understand what was going on. Ayayawa. Middlet's screams could only get louder when Naruto's hands continued to roam, and Rias raised her hand up to remind Naruto that the girl was the enemy. Ayayawa. Those are some really adult panties you have, Middle-chan. Then Naruto flipped the girl upside down and revealed her black thigh to the world around them. Rias didn't know what to say when she saw the way Naruto seemingly changed gears from a fighter into something so strange. She tilted her head when she saw Naruto do things with Middlet's body that were just, well, Rias didn't want to think on how the body was supposed to bend that way. There were rumors that the previous Red Dragon Emperor had a weakness for cute things, small cute things, and would sometimes refuse to fight if her opponent was cute enough. She didn't think that those rumors were true, and she didn't think that trait could be passed down to the child either. So this was Naruto's weakness. Okay, I'm done for now, Naruto said to Rias as he carried an unconscious Middlet on his shoulders. Naruto's skin was practically glowing, as if he had a good night's sleep and was fully recharged. Are you a ped? I'm not a pedophile. I'm not sexually attracted to kids in any way, shape, or form. I just have an awesome adoration for cute things. Don't worry, the only lolas I molest are the ones that are my enemies. Naruto sent Rias a thumbs up. Her jaw dropped when she heard his casual admission of enemy molestation. She could appreciate the fact he was limiting his perversions to his enemies and not his allies. Also, I literally can't fight them. Naruto spoke more seriously. Literally? As in, Naruto was physically unable to fight cute things? How? When I try to fight super cute things, I just lose all of my motivation and my attacks don't carry a lot of power. It's actually a pretty bad weakness, and I'm working on getting rid of it. Naruto was just as bothered by his weakness as others. His only way to fight cute things was to not fight them. He wasn't able to raise a fist against cute opponents, that was all there was to it. You're not RA. I will slap you, I'm not a rapist. I hug them so that I can squeeze the air out of their lungs, and I touch their bodies so they will scream and use up all of their oxygen and pass out. This is literally the only way I can defend myself against cute things. It just so happens that I act like a pervert when I do it. Naruto explained as he frowned at Rias for even assuming that he would cross that line. He had a line he wouldn't cross. Also, look at how cute she is, she's a total cutie. Naruto lifted up the knocked out Middlet and showed her off to Rias. You want me to kill her? Rias asked Naruto with crossed arms. I want to keep her, anyway. I killed the other two too quickly, and I want to know why they were after me. I guess we should cut the date short, eh? Since I did most of the killing, I think it's only fair you get rid of the bodies. Naruto mentioned as he looked at the two fresh corpses. Rias nodded her head, since it was a fair suggestion to her as well. I guess we'll call it here. Rias agreed. Same time next week? Naruto asked as he turned and started to walk away, to go and get his motorcycle. Sure, until the end, this was really fun. Rias spoke with a small smile. She really did have fun on the date, despite her main purpose of the date to get to know Naruto. She felt like she had learned a lot about him. Who knew he had such a strange weakness? When I get out of here, I'm going to enjoy ripping you piece by piece. How adorable. First tell me everything you know, and why you were after me. Naruto told Middlet with a smile on his face. She was red in the face from sheer annoyance with him. Considering the fact that he had strapped her down to a chair. She was in nothing but her panties as her arms were handcuffed behind her back with special handcuffs that were sealing away her powers. They were powerful enough to even hold ultimate class beings with ease, made by Jiraiya himself, so for a small fry fallen angel like Middlet she wasn't getting out. Ha! What are you going to do? You won't hurt me! Middlet shouted at Naruto, remembering what his weakness was considering that he admitted to it. He even tried to have the Gremry child kill her because he wasn't able to bring himself to do it. She knew for a fact that he wasn't going to hurt her. Naruto showed her one of her own wing feathers. Yep, I'm not able to hurt you, but I can humiliate you and do other things. Look at these cute little feet on these legs. Naruto lifted one of her legs and showed off her small feet. Oh, and what do we have here? A feather. Naruto showed off the feather in his other hand. He made a mockingly surprised face as he brought the feather close towards her foot. You're going to tickle me? Middlet asked with a raised eyebrow. That or lick you until you cough up the information or shove a dildo into your ass and then tickle you. So tell me, do you work for Akatsuki? Naruto asked Middlet as he sat down in front of her feet. He held her leg firmly in place so that she couldn't move it. Her feet were unrestrained so that he could move her lower body around with ease. Fuck, ha 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 ha. Stop. Fuck. Shit. Ha ha ha. Naruto started his torture as he lightly brushed the feather against her toes and the sole of her foot. Middlet started to laugh uncontrollably as Naruto continued his old-fashioned torture against her. Her back arched as her face began to turn bright red, before she started to pale when 40 seconds and she had extreme trouble breathing. Suddenly, the tickling stopped right before she was going to pass out. Not the answer I was looking for. Naruto sang to her, and she took as many deep breaths as she could to try and bring the air back into her body. The fuck was that? Fuck you. You say that, but I feel like you don't really want to have sex with me. Too bad, I bet you have a really tight continuing on. Naruto stopped himself from getting sidetracked as he reached up and placed the feather against her ribs. She flinched when she felt the sudden urge to giggle at the light feeling. Did Akatsuki hire you to watch me? Are the Akatsuki and Grigori teaming up together? Naruto asked her. She spat on his face. Eat my ass. Maybe later, but first, time to see if laughter is the best medicine. Naruto saw Middlet go pale when he started to tickle her again. No! Stop, Grigori and whatever that group you said aren't working together. Middlet shouted the answer the second the tickling started. She was super ticklish on her ribs, and she didn't want to experience his hellish tickling in that spot. Not after she felt how good he was at finding all of those spots on her foot. I swear, to my knowledge that is the truth. I'm not a high-ranking member of Grigori, and they don't tell me much. Middlet tried to validate her claim by showing her own low status. Naruto nodded and lowered the feather away from her ribs, thinking on that bit of information. Okay, so why are you after me? Naruto asked her, and she looked like she wanted to say the answer, but she bit her lip and stopped herself. At the moment, she still had a chance of being taken back by Grigori. She wasn't going to withstand the tickling if she didn't know the answer, but this was an answer that she didn't know, and that she shouldn't be telling Naruto. She would have to withstand his tickling if she wanted to remain loyal to her group. Be gentle? What's this? Naruto asked as he reached underneath her chair, and she watched as he pulled out a second feather. He had the most sarcastic look on his face as he licked his lips, bringing out the feather. A second feather, dear God, you are such a cute little thing. You gave me 2 of your feathers because you love my tickling so much. Naruto mentioned with a look towards her tiny breasts. Since she was small-breasted, her breasts would be a touch more sensitive than those of a larger-breasted woman. Naruto reached up with the feathers, while Middle tensed up and bit her lip. When Naruto started to lightly tickle her with the feathers, she did give a moan as she stiffened up a little, but then he lowered so where her breasts connected with her ribs. That wasn't a moan. Middle tried her hardest not to laugh as she bit down. Her lower lip began to bleed, and suddenly she found an out. You can't kill yourself, Middle. I have Twilight Healing as my sacred gear. Even if you bite your tongue off, I'll just heal you, but you won't have a tongue anymore. Naruto stopped tickling her as she dropped her idea of killing herself. He had seen in her eyes that she had considered it for a moment. He could admire how she was willing to try and keep her orders a secret. Back to the tickling. I was one of the fallen angels asked to watch the people in Ko with sacred gears. You have a powerful sacred gear, and rumor has it you have a dragon-type subspecies balance breaker. My leader wanted to see if those rumors were true. We were supposed to fight you to try and get you to reveal your power. Middle revealed the information quickly, without haste now that she knew that she had no out. It was either she give up the information that he wanted, or she was going to be tickled again. That dreadful feeling of laughing not because you wanted to, but because your body was panicking, was horrifying. The feeling of wanting to breath, but being unable to do so was just as bad. You have any more people on this mission with you? Other than the ones you were with when you attacked me? Naruto asked her. He raised up the feathers. Yes, Rainier. She's watching that boy you were walking to school with. She's planning on killing him next week. You're no fun. I really wanted you to be more stubborn. You have a really cute laugh. Naruto pouted when she gave up all of the information he asked for too easily. He sighed to himself, because he was really getting into it. I will literally suck your if you let me go free. Middle tried to bargain with something that most guys would kill for. This guy was a Lilicon, so if she offered him a blow, then maybe he would be willing to let her go. Looking back, she was the weakest of her allies, and he killed her allies without even so much as breaking a sweat. He also healed a hole in his chest, so nothing she could do would really hurt him. Then again, he wasn't going to hurt her, so maybe she could take him down, but if she attacked him again, no doubt he would beat her the same way as before. Okay then. Naruto stood up. What are you doing? Middle shouted when she saw Naruto unzip his pants and pull them down, showing his underwear to her. She saw the bulge at the front of his underwear, and she looked at him with a burning red face. She had not been expecting that type of reaction out of him, even more so with him accepting her offer to blow him. You just offered to blow me for your freedom, and other than your panties, you're naked. Naruto deadpanned at her. Middle watched as he pulled down his underwear. Big. I wasn't expecting you to accept. As much as I'm considering having sex with you right now, I want to conserve at least some of my dignity. Middle was honest when she mentioned considering having sex with him. Considering the fact that he was clearly very strong, have a powerful aura, and was well equipped to take care of her need, she knew that she wouldn't be able to go back to Grigori with her head held high if she did that. Also, why didn't you take off my panties? Middle asked with confused look. That was right, she was wearing panties. Why? If the tickling alone didn't work, I was going to give you a really wicked wedge and then tickle you even more. So we doing this or what? Naruto asked her with a smirk. Fuck me. 2 hours later. That was surprisingly good for a human. Middle didn't want to say that he had satisfied her as she walked with a limp towards the exit of the house. She didn't want to give him the satisfaction of knowing that he had left her feeling a good feeling between her legs. Honestly, the only time they stopped doing it was when Naruto needed to stop to recharge his battery and take a shower. You're actually letting me go free? Middle asked with a surprised look when Naruto opened the door to his home and showed her the outside. He nodded. Of course, you said you would blow me for your freedom. I said I would free you, and I'm a man of my word. So you are free to go. If you ever have an itch that needs scratching, feel free to come back. Slap. Go fuck yourself. Middle shouted as she opened her wings and flew off. Naruto laughed as she left, seeing the blushing red face that she left with. Not when I have you to do it for me. Naruto shouted back to her. You do realize that she knows your weakness, right, and you're letting her go. Tsunade pointed out as she stepped out from behind Naruto with slightly red cheeks. She had heard too much of what they had been doing. Well, this is going to bite me in the ass someday, and I know that, but it was still worth it. Naruto nodded his head in understanding and confirmation of his thoughts. The fact that an enemy was flying away with knowledge of his weakness sucked, but somebody was going to learn about his weakness someday anyway. He had a pretty big weakness, and it would be hard to hide the fact that cute things were his weakness. Did you learn a lesson from this? Tsunade asked with a raised eyebrow. He grinned. Nope, a lesson he did not learn. Rias was a little surprised when Sona had decided to call on her to talk about something. Normally her fellow king just allowed her to do as she pleased, without questioning her. They would on occasion hang out or talk, but she had never been interrupted from her plans before by the girl. So there she was, sitting with her friend/rival in the student council room, curious as to what brought this about. So Rias, how was your date with Uzumaki-san? It went well enough. We were attacked by fallen angels, but they were easily taken care of. Rias spoke with a curious glance at her school ally. They were alone, which was strange that Sona didn't have her queen with her. Actually, that itself was suspicious that Sona asked her not to bring Akino with her for this meeting. A surprise meeting without their queens present was odd for the girl to ask, as in, she never asked for a meeting without the queens present. What's up, Sona? Rias asked as she glanced at her opposite. The girl was the polar opposite of her in many ways. Where Rias was curved, Sona was petite. Where she had long, vibrant hair, Sona had short black hair. Even the way they treated their peerages and peers was different, vastly different, considering that Sona was much colder with her peerage in general. She was kind to them, but she was as strict with them as she felt the need to be. You wouldn't call me here to ask about my date, Rias pointed out. Sona nodded slowly. I noticed that Uzumaki-san, Sona put the emphasis on Naruto's last name, has been causing chaos with the clubs at the school. Even today, he's challenging the remaining clubs at the school. The only clubs left are the debate club and the ORC. Sona pointed out calmly, but Rias could see that she was bothered. The school she was putting so much effort into keeping under control was being torn down around her. All of the clubs were in a panic state, and were all complaining about how Naruto had defeated them and taken their club's items as trophies. No doubt in her mind that she knew Sona was at her wit's end on what to do. Technically, Naruto was not doing anything against the rules. He was challenging the clubs to contests that were within the rules of each of the clubs. While the betting was a moral gray area, it wasn't like it was truly against the rules of their school either. Your point? Rias didn't really care what Naruto did. So he wanted to challenge clubs. Good for him, he was following his desires. He was working hard towards a goal that he had set for himself. The fact he was staying true to himself was a trait that not many could say they had. I've been looking at his previous records, and this isn't the first time he's done this. He's challenged other schools before ours. Sona explained as she opened up a laptop and turned it so that Rias could see it. She showed Naruto's medical records, personal information on him, and a list of all of the schools that Naruto had challenged before he came to Ko. The list of schools. That's a long list. He certainly kept himself busy. Rias was surprised at how extensive the list truly was. It was pretty neat. I'm not sure if you're aware, but his parents are Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. His birth certificate confirms it. He's the son of the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor of the previous generation, and he's in possession of his own sacred gear. He's skilled, powerful, and he has no weakness. Sona explained as she pulled up all of Naruto's records that she had gotten a hold of. Thanks to her connections, this much information for data management was simple. Rias kept her mouth shut about Naruto's weakness. He trusted her not to tell anyone, and she wasn't going to abuse that knowledge unless she had to. She was sure that Sona would seriously abuse the knowledge that she had if given to her. You don't have enough pieces to reincarnate him. The only way you could manage that is if you used all 8 of your pawns and you already plan on reincarnating somebody else as a pawn. Rias pointed out something that she had been thinking about. I've changed my mind. I want Naruto for my peerage. He's worth 8 pawns if that is what it takes. I sent my familiar to scout his house, and I saw both the demon sword Gram and the holy sword Ascalon in his room. Sona, that's really an invasion of privacy. Naruto is an open book. If you talk to him, he would be more than willing to answer your questions. Rias felt a little bad for Naruto. He was being subject to Sona's researching, and no doubt he was going to be watched by her more. She wanted to go and tell Naruto, but Sona was still her longtime friend, so she wouldn't betray her either. Decisions. Sona shook her head. Since you went on a date with him, I was curious if I would have to compete with you to add him to my peerage, Sona pointed out. Rias shook her head. Honestly, I'm on the fence about adding him to my peerage. Rias thought about a certain two cute members of her peerage. She wasn't sure that Naruto would be able to handle being on the same team as them without going berserk. She wasn't sure if her peerage would be able to keep up with Naruto either, since Naruto was far too wild for them to even hope to control through normal methods. It was hard to manipulate the desires of a person who was always true to his desires, and had the power to follow his dreams without help. Good, then I want to lay claim to him. When he comes to challenge the student council, I'll defeat him in a contest of wits. He's a rather brutish man. I doubt he can compare to my battle strategies. You're making the assumption he's going to beat my club. Rias realized that Sona had factored the fact that Naruto would defeat the ORC into her calculations. That was pretty insulting to her, but after seeing Naruto in action, she was pretty sure that the assumption was spot on. Nobody in her peerage was really at a level where they could honestly compete with Naruto. Then again, she could abuse her knowledge of Naruto's weakness, and use that to her advantage, but Naruto trusted her with that information, so she wouldn't abuse it against him. It is really an assumption. I'll defeat him, because I'm smarter than he is. He only challenges the clubs in something related to their club, to prove that he's superior to them, Sona pointed out with a slight smirk. A little friendly taunting was fine. Sona stopped when the door to her student council room opened. Student council president, I'm here to challenge you to a contest of your choice. Also Rias, I challenge you to a contest of your choice. It's up to you to accept or deny my challenge. Naruto burst into the room. Sona closed her laptop instantly, and pushed her glasses up her nose. She looked towards Naruto, surprised that he had already gotten to them in such a short amount of time. Haha. Issei came trailing in behind Naruto, carrying Naruto's spoils of war against the clubs for him. He was exhausted from having to run after Naruto and carry his stuff. Fine, I accept your challenge, but if I win you have to surrender yourself to becoming my servant for the rest of your life. Sona didn't beat around the bush as she looked towards Naruto. You're really tiny, Naruto whispered as he looked at Sona's petite body with narrowed eyes for a moment. He looked up and down her petite body, from her minuscule breasts, to her tiny waist, and her shorter height. And such high stacks. Here, if you win, you can have Issei instead. Naruto offered up Issei. Hey! Asshole! No thank you, I don't want Hayate-san, he's not as valuable as you are. Sona rejected that idea instantly. Ah, my feelings. Suck it up, a paid dragon emperor. Naruto told Issei as he pat Issei on the back. Sona's eyebrows furrowed when she looked at Issei. A paid dragon emperor. Actually, I accept your conditions. Suddenly, Hayate-san has gained some value. Sona looked at Issei with a glint in her eyes, covered by her glasses. There were only two dragon emperors, the red and white, and considering that Naruto had a dragon aura, it was plain that he was able to sense something inside of Issei that none of them could easily sense. That meant that Issei had a Longinus-level sacred gear if the nickname could be applied normally. Considering how weak Issei was, it would be far easier to turn Issei into a devil than it would be to turn Naruto. Ha! I'm more valuable than you are. No, you aren't. Rias pointed out to Issei, dashing his hopes instantly. She had understood why Sona had changed her mind, and she could see her line of thought. The difference was that Naruto had far more potential than a mere Longinus-level sacred gear. Considering the boosted gear and divine dividing weren't even the most powerful of the Longinus sacred gears, there still existed things that could surpass them in power easily. Ow. What do I get if I win? I'm not going to bet Issei's freedom for nothing. Also, what is the contest? Naruto asked, and Sona considered it. She knew the contest. I challenge you to a contest of wits. You've been using your muscles to conquer my school, and I want to see if you are capable of battling with your brain. My challenge for you is 5 games of chess. Your prize, if you win, is my hand in marriage. Sona extended her hand towards Naruto. It wasn't like he was going to win after all. He couldn't beat her at chess, nobody beat her at chess ever. I don't really want that, but it is a fair trade. A life for a life is fair and you are cute. Not like I ever planned on getting married for love. Actually, Naruto thought it over seriously. This might work out for him. Dude, take the bet, take it, she's super cute, and if you marry her, you get to have sex with her. Issei encouraged Naruto to take the bet. What he wouldn't give to have sex with a girl as pretty as Sona was, even if her boobs were tiny, they were perky, and that was nice too. Naruto shrugged. Why are you even offering that? Naruto asked Sona. I swore to my parents that I would marry the first man to prove himself smarter than I am. Anyway, it doesn't matter if I bet my hand in marriage. You won't beat me, you have zero chance of success against me. Your grades. -5 chess games later. Naruto showed Sona his middle finger as he placed her into checkmate again, for the 5th time, since Sona didn't accept the first 3 times that he beat her. She looked at the board in utter shock when she saw her king utterly surrounded by a multitude of pieces. Her glasses fell off of her face as she looked at the board. What? Well, surprised Rias spoke lowly when she saw the utter defeat her rival suffered. Don't assume I'm stupid. When I attended Konoha High, there was a man named Shikamaru Nara. He was the head of the shogi club. He had an IQ or over 200, and was one of the smartest men in the country. Just because I'm an idiot doesn't mean I'm stupid. My grades suck because I can't be bothered to learn stuff I'm never going to use. Naruto glared at Sona with a deep frown. It was fine if he called himself stupid. He made dumb mistakes all the time, but he hated when people called him stupid because he got bad grades. He got bad grades because he never bothered himself to learn anything school was teaching. He also learned things in a different way than schools taught. Sona didn't know what to say. Naruto defeated all of the clubs at his previous school, and he defeated all of the notable people in their best areas. He defeated Rock Lee in soccer, Niji Hyuga in martial arts, and if this Shikamaru was skilled in shogi, then when Naruto challenged him, that would mean Rias started with widened eyes. Oh shit. When it comes to battle strategy, I'm even smarter than a man with an IQ of over 200. I don't want your hand in marriage, so I'm going to take your glasses. Naruto took Sona's glasses off of the table and put them on his head, resting on his hair. She looked up at him with surprise at his statement. Naruto turned and started to walk away. Feel free to challenge me anytime. I'm always accepting challenges and I'm coming for you next, Rias. Naruto told Rias, and she waved at him. She was looking forward to challenging him. When the door closed, Rias looked at Sona. He's smarter than I am. Sona's jaw dropped when it finally settled in, and she looked up towards the door with a glazed look in her eyes. She consistently lost. With Naruto. Seriously, how did you beat her? You're an idiot. Issei pointed out, and Naruto stuck his tongue out at Issei. Ass. I might be stupid, but I'm creative and I'm really good at noticing my opponent's strategies and weaknesses. That girl was smart, and all but smart people are usually really easy to predict. Sorry for putting you up as a wager again. Naruto apologized to Issei, and Issei waved him off. I was never in any real danger, was I? Issei asked, and Naruto laughed. Nope. People really needed to stop underestimating him. Just one club left, and I'll have conquered this school completely and utterly, and I'll have done it in record time. Last time it took me almost a week to conquer a school. Naruto couldn't help but be proud of himself. Occult was his last unconquered school in Japan. He had literally already conquered every other high school in the nation. Once he conquered Occult Academy, he would well and truly have dominated all of the schools in the nation by himself. You really need to do some training, Issei. Anyway, the ORC is the last club on the list that needs to be taken down, and Rias is the pres of the club. Naruto mused out loud when he noticed how exhausted that Issei was. Running around during lunch and after classes had worn the boy out. At this rate he was for sure dead if the White Dragon Emperor ever attacked him. He wasn't sure how he felt about that. You should take her to the hammocks from her. Issei motioned to his chest and made a boob-curving motion. I have literally no interest in taking Rias' bra. Since the ORC has the old school building as its clubroom, I'm going to take that. Naruto already knew what he wanted from Rias. He was going to take her club building as his reward, since it was no longer truly used by the school. He would still let her participate in her club activities, but it would be nice for him to have a place that he could hang out. Unless I see something more interesting, then I'll want that. Naruto waved off Issei's statement without much care. The boy was a pervert, not really a big deal to Naruto, since he literally was raised by the biggest pervert the world had ever. Well, Issei could give Jiraiya a run for his perverted money. Then again, Jiraiya had age and actual sexual experience under his belt. If he was a virgin like Issei, no doubt Jiraiya would be 100 times more perverted than he was now. I need to get you to understand the value of a girl's breasts. Breasts are hot, I agree, but that isn't all there is to love about a woman's body, you know. I'm more of an ass man myself. Big breasts are nice and all, but they aren't the most important thing. Naruto watched as Issei looked like he had been physically slapped by that statement. Breasts, boobs, titties, they weigh heavier than even life itself, Naruto. What you just said brings shame to mankind. If I wasn't sure you would kick my ass for it, I would punch you. Issei raised his fist up. He would have punched his other two friends, but that was because they were all rather weak. He knew that if he punched the beefy bro next to him that he would get his ass beaten into the next week. Ass is great and all. Last time he tried to make Naruto feel pain, he felt like he had cracked a bone in his hand, and he didn't want a repeat lesson. Ass is great, stop your sentence there, and we can agree on something. Anyway, this is the building. I wonder what Rias will decide the contest will be. Naruto wondered while walking into the old abandoned building, though it wasn't totally abandoned, he should say. I sensed something dangerous. Naruto spoke with narrowed eyes as he and Issei walked the hallways. Issei stiffened. That didn't sound good. Like, danger danger, or something stupid danger. Issei was starting to get the hang of Naruto's train of thought. Since Naruto was really strong and really good at martial arts, he doubted that anything would make the blonde-haired fighter shiver. So he was guessing it was something stupid that Naruto would label as dangerous. Naruto shrugged and kept walking until they reached the stairs and walked up them, since the main club room was on the second floor. With Rias. I can feel him coming. I guess it's time to see if I can overcome this hurdle. Rias spoke with a small smile on her face. Challenges. One of her ultimate goals in life was to win as many rating games against strong opponents as she could. To do that, she would need to push her mind to the limit to create the best strategy she could, and she would need to test the limits of her leadership. She couldn't do that alone, she needed her peerage for that, of course. She found that the best way to test if you were ready for something was to overcome a sort of challenge. From his records, Naruto had never lost a single battle against any club since he started to challenge schools, according to Sona at least. The man had experienced and conquered many experts, and defeated them in what the arts that they were practiced in. You're excited. Akino noted with a small smile. She rarely saw Rias looking so excited for something so unexpected, honestly. This is a good chance to see how far I've come, and try and find my own flaws. Naruto is a challenge, and I can't back away from a challenge just because I might not win. I can understand how my cousin feels about fighting at least a little bit. Rias could feel her hands shaking in anticipation. Her blood was boiling over. The desire to prove herself, overcome her own weakness, and meet the challenge head-on was far too appealing to her. You said his sacred gear was twilight healing, so how strong could he be? Yuto asked with a raised eyebrow. He had been kind of left out of the loop, since he didn't pay too much attention to rumors. He hadn't really heard much about this Naruto guy. All he knew was what Rias told him, and it would see that Rias was leaving information out. There is only a single person in this room capable of defeating him. Rias spoke, sure of her statement. Interesting, a human strong enough that you would have to take him on yourself. Yuto was surprised at that. I was talking about Kaneko. As much as Rias disliked admitting it, the fact remained that Naruto was a sacred gear user that had mastered his balance breaker. He was a true expert of the martial arts, had reflexes and speed that would make it too hard for her to even think about using magic against him without somebody to keep him off of her. Not to mention he was a battle genius that was so good at strategy that even her rival Sona wasn't able to beat him. Me? Said girl spoke as she looked up from her snack, surprised. She was the physically strongest person in the peerage, yes, but in pure fighting power both Rias and Akino would run circles around her. In direct combat she knew that she wouldn't be able to defeat either of them, so for Rias to say that only she would be able to defeat this Naruto person was odd to say the least. Naruto has a... Bam. Hello Rias, I am now officially challenging you to a contest of your choosing. Naruto burst into the door, kicking it open with a grin on his face. The mere action of what he was doing alone caused everyone but Rias, who was expecting him to do something like that, to jump out of surprise for his unexpected entrance. Ness. Welcome Naruto, I accept your challenge. Rias spoke, and her peerage looked at her in confusion. What was she saying when Naruto shouted over her? As for a reward, we want your Brazku. Issei was thumped on the head for declaring that. Naruto sighed and rubbed his head in annoyance for a moment. Issei rubbed his head as well, but that was more out of the fact he just got thumped. What? You know what anyway, name your challenge and I'll accept it. Naruto told Rias as he ignored most of the other people in the room. Rias smiled and looked towards Kaneko for a second, her secret weapon against Naruto. The only person in her peerage, at the moment, that she was able to use against him. Rias had no doubt that if it came down to it, Naruto wouldn't hold back against herself, Akino, or Yuto. Naruto looked where Rias was looking. Tiny, adorable, cute. Arm wrestling, since to search for the occult you need good upper body strength. Your opponent will be the person in the club with the strongest arm, Kaneko Tuju. Rias gestured towards Kaneko. Kaneko-chan. Naruto spoke her name with a wispy sigh. He looked over her adorableness with glazed eyes for a moment. Her soft-looking white hair, cut rather girlishly short. Her flattish chest with only a little fat on it. Her petite/lean body, and the way she was really short all came together. Right, Kaneko is a rook, she won't lose in arm wrestling. Yuto thought with a knowing look. No way a human could beat a rook in arm wrestling, is what he thought. Fine. Naruto ripped his shirt off of his body and walked towards the opposite end of the table Kaneko was sitting at. He gave Rias a meaningful glare when he passed by her, and she responded with a smile. She did appreciate his body once more, looking at the thickness of his pecs with a smile. He looks good in glasses, Rias thought when she saw he was still wearing Sona's glasses on his forehead. Kaneko rolled up her sleeve and leaned forward, placing her elbow on the table. Such tiny arms, so adorable, Naruto whispered as he got across from Kaneko and grabbed onto her hand, elbow also on the table. Akino stepped next to them and placed her hands on top of theirs, stopping them from starting until they were to begin. You got this, Naruto, and when you win you can tell them to walk across campus with their shirts off. Issei was super excited for Naruto's win this time. Rias just shrugged her shoulders at that, while Akino giggled. She was finding Issei's perversion rather amusing to say the least. I already have something in mind. Naruto looked at Kaneko with narrowed eyes for a moment. She raised an eyebrow when she looked back at him. She wondered if he disliked her for something based by his eyes narrowing, but didn't really care too much. Did you have to remove your shirt? Not at all, I did it to distract Rias, since she is always looking at my pecs. Naruto stated with an equally deadpan tone to what Kaneko just used. Rias' cheeks turned into flames when she realized that Naruto had caught her staring at his chest. Akino and Yuto both glanced at Rias with a curious glance. Really? Just start. The second Akino removed her hands, nothing happened. Naruto and Kaneko just stared each other in the eyes as they tried to push down each other's arm. Kaneko was immediately surprised when he didn't go down instantly, even more so that she was struggling to push him back. I thought cute girls was supposed to be his weakness, how is he still holding up against Kaneko? Rias thought with a furrowed brow. She glanced her hands together and watched as the table underneath Naruto and Kaneko cracked. Kaneko started to sweat. His life force is so bright and warm, he's got an extremely powerful life force. Can he use Tuki? Kaneko thought when she felt her strength waning. She could feel that he had a very passive use of his base of life, his Tuki, increasing his strength, speed, and durability. The fact that his very life itself was so potent that was increasing his power naturally was worrying. He had a very addicting energy, making her feel like taking a nap on him to bask in his aura. His powerful, calming, sunny, warm, even now Kaneko could feel herself slipping. Had Naruto mastered Tuki? So adorable, I don't want to hurt her, Naruto thought as he found it hard to get the motivation to win against Kaneko. She was just so adorable when she was struggling, her tongue was sticking out, and she had a twitching brow. Come on Naruto, win! Think of the reward, Issei shouted as he cried tears at the thought of Rias and Akino topless. It would fulfill his life. Naruto imagined wearing a bikini while wearing cat paws on her hands and feet, and kitty ears on her hand, with a tail. Rias, my weakness is that I can't fight or hurt cute things, Naruto spoke as Kaneko was forced to draw her strength back. Her hand started to get closer to the table as Naruto forced her hand. She struggled against his increasing strength, as Naruto intensely looked at her with hearts in his eyes. This girl is without a doubt the cutest, most adorable, tiny thing I've ever seen. Tiny? Kaneko forced Naruto's arm back up to the standing position when she heard that word and looked down at her chest. I'm not flat, my chest is just developing, Kaneko hissed at Naruto when she ignored the feeling of his warm aura. All her strength returned to her, she was able to put back up a good fight. Naruto grinned at the real challenge she was providing now, and he pushed her arm back down. I don't care about breasts, what I care about is cute. You have something Rias will never have, you have the cute aura that makes men like me just want to pamper you. Not to mention look that your hips pretty nice. Naruto just complimented Kaneko as he pushed her hand back down. Kaneko pushed back up, and returned with more force of her own. The veins in her arm were visible from the sheer amount of force she was putting into her arm. She was gritting her teeth, and she glanced at Naruto. She saw the aura of a dragon behind him. What? Kaneko thought, taken back in surprise. Pervert, Kaneko shot back, and Naruto grinned at her. Pot meat kettle, you're black. I can look into your eyes and see that you've got an inner pervert too. You're no different than me, you love cute things. I bet you show your love for cute things by teasing them. Naruto could see a kindred spirit in Kaneko. He could see it in her eyes, and while she wasn't as bad as he was about it, he could see her love for the cute. She does love teasing Gasper, Rias thought. Well, Gasper Kino realized that Kaneko did always tease Gasper whenever the two of them were together. Actually, you remind me of a girl I met a few months ago. Whatever, doesn't matter, what matters is when I win. Rias, when I win I want to go to the beach with Kaneko-chan, and dress her up in a really cute swimsuit. Naruto told Rias with a sharp grin. He wanted to see her in a skimpy cat swimsuit that would match so well with her. Rias blinked. My family has a private beach, so sure. Rias didn't have a problem with that. She was sure that Naruto wouldn't do anything too bad to Kaneko. She had to remember the way that Naruto felt up-middled. Oh, Naruto, how is your guest? Rias looked towards Issei with a raised eyebrow, wondering if he was aware of the supernatural yet. Oh, Middleton and I had a night of passion, Naruto mentioned. Rias laughed. Good joke. Not joking, she offered me sex as I was tickling her. Naruto fully admitted what he did. Rias giggled at the way Naruto was joking with her. Naruto pushed Kaneko's hand down to the point that it was almost touching the table. Her back was arched, and she put her other hand on the table in an effort to overpower him. Actually, would it be that bad to lose? She was going to get to wear a cute swimsuit at a private beach. It would be like going on vacation. All she would have to do was let her hand touch the table, though it was practically already touching it, and she would get a free day of fun and play. No, she had her pride as a rook. She lost seconds later. I lost? Kaneko spoke as she looked at her hand on the table, which Naruto let go of, in surprise when she saw that she lost. Rias, you were smart to remember my weakness. But you made a mistake in the contest. You should have had me and Kaneko box each other. Then I wouldn't have been able to hit her. Next Sunday is when I want my prize, Naruto told Rias, who just sighed in defeat and nodded her head. She accepted her defeat, her club's defeat, with as much grace as she could. Okay, so maybe using Naruto as her first big challenge was setting the bar too high. Why am I doing this? Issei had a lot of questions for what was happening to him at the moment. Here he was, standing in nothing but his pants in front of Naruto. He had bandages wrapped around his fists, though he didn't know why to be sure. He actually felt self-conscious about his body when he looked in front of him. Issei was by no means out of shape, to be fair, but he had unneeded fat on his body, and in no way could you call him muscular either. In front of him was somebody who had the body of a Greek god, no doubt, perfectly sculpted to be just perfect. Not a trace of fat on his tall, muscular body, toned to the point that they couldn't be toned any further, and Naruto didn't even have those ugly veins on him that many other bodybuilders had. Because if you can't learn to defend yourself in a week, you're going to be killed by a low-level fallen angel, Naruto thought to himself, as he wrapped his fists in very soft memory foam. He was trying to make sure that his punches were as soft as they could possibly be. He didn't want to kill the poor boy by mistake, since he was already going to be putting Issei thought a lot of pain. Because I said so, because you want to do this. Now shut up, Naruto told Issei as he cracked his neck. Issei didn't. But I don't want to do this. Issei, you like girls, right? Naruto asked Issei, knowing how he was going to get his little perverted friend motivated. I exist for them, go on. You want to have sex in the future, right? You want girls to be attracted to you, right? Naruto asked Issei two more questions that he knew the answer to. He wanted to hear Issei admit to it, though. By the blush and duppy smile on Issei's face, Naruto could tell that the boy was going to have a hard time managing any of that without severe amounts of help and luck. Yes and yes. Well, a lot of women would be willing to look around some of your less desirable traits if you got yourself a better body. You're pretty scrawny right now, and combine the fact you're scrawny with the fact you're a super perv that can't stop thinking about tits unless you get lucky. Good luck in the sex department. Naruto explained further, and Issei could see where this was going. He looked at Naruto's body for a moment, and he imagined getting a similar body. So I can look like you, and get lots of women? Issei asked with a grin. Like me? Sorry, but we have different body types. Muscles don't always develop the same way, but you can get yourself a muscular body. You have a smaller frame than I do, so you're more geared towards true lean muscles. You're more geared towards a swimmer body while I'm geared towards a fighter body. Naruto explained the difference between their body structures. Just training like him wasn't going to give Issei the same type of body. Just like how women who lifted weights, without using steroids, didn't end up with the same types of bodies as male bodybuilders. There were inherent differences between body types, muscular and skeletal structures, all of which changed the way a person's body would look once they got rid of their excess fat and gained muscle. So, this training will help me get it on with women? Issei asked with an eager grin. He should have been working out years ago. Not only that, but by training you can increase your sex stamina, and your sexual skills for giving women pleasure. So come on Issei, give me a good punch in the face. Naruto didn't even get to finish his sentence before Issei ran at Naruto and punched him right in his left cheek. GRH. Naruto's face didn't budge as he looked down at Issei, the boy suddenly feeling a lot smaller when he saw his punch did literally nothing to Naruto. Thankfully, because of the tape around his hand, he didn't hurt his hand with that punch. He's going to get killed by Rainier if he doesn't get better. I might actually have to step in and stop the woman myself, Naruto thought as he pulled back his fist. Issei yelped when Naruto swung at him, and he jumped to the ground underneath the fist. It was a rather slow punch, but Naruto's usual standards, made for the purpose of Issei being capable of dodging it. Are you trying to kill me? Issei shouted while sitting on his ass, having jumped to the ground for his dodge. Naruto shook his head. Kill? No, but I am going to make you wish I killed you. Tell you what, in a week, if you show signs of improvement, there will be a special reward in it for you, Naruto told Issei with a grin on his face. Issei perked up at the sound of a reward, and he stood back up and looked towards Naruto. Reward? Yeah, your reward is not suffering a painful death, Naruto thought to himself, before he raised his hand up and took the foam off the fist on that hand. Yeah, now punch my hand 500 times with your left hand, then punch my hand 500 times with your right hand, Naruto told Issei, since Issei wasn't ready for actual training, even low-level training like what they had been doing before. Issei's punch had been too weak. Granted, Naruto had trained his body to the point that for a weaker person like Issei, causing damage was next to impossible. How is that going to help him? Oh, tomato butt, what brings you here? Naruto asked Rias as he waved his free hand at her. Issei covered his body with his hands, more self-conscious than before now that they had an audience to see him half-naked. Also dude, she's not looking at you. If anything, I'm the subject of her objectification, Naruto mentioned as he gestured to his pecs. Can you not call me that? And of course I came, you're standing in front of my club building. Rias pointed up towards the window where she had been watching them previously. She had heard their entire conversation, and while it had been a rather embarrassing conversation for her to listen to, she could see that Naruto was doing this all for Issei's sake. But why? Being the Red Dragon Emperor wasn't enough to give Issei special treatment from Naruto, based on what she knew of him. Issei started to punch Naruto's palm with all of his might. Issei, you're going to waste your energy doing that. Only put all of your power into a punch when you know for a fact you're going to cause serious damage. Otherwise you're just wasting your own energy. You won't be able to get to 500 punches if you do this. Also when you get home, do 50 push-ups and sit-ups. Naruto didn't even bother looking at Issei when he said those words. Issei grunted and put less of his minuscule amounts of power into his punches. Rias hummed in thought. What Naruto was doing was good for her, because she too knew that in a week, Issei would become the target of a fallen angel. It was only by Naruto's request that he be allowed to handle it. She was doing him a favor by letting him do this for Issei. Naruto was going to let Issei try and defend his own life. She was only to step in if Issei was killed. Issei missed a punch. Gah! What the hell are your muscles even made of? I hit you right in the gut, and you didn't even flinch! Issei shouted as he held his hand in pain. Even with the tape, he had still hurt his hand hitting Naruto's abs. Rias nodded in understanding. Naruto was about the same height as her cousin, and they had almost identical bodies when it came to their muscles. She was doubtless that Naruto had an extremely tough body. It would take a lot of training before Issei would be able to manage to cause Naruto discomfort with his punches. Feel lucky, normally you would be punching a tree or a brick wall, Naruto explained to Issei, and Issei grumbled. It feels like I punched a brick wall, but whatever. Issei went back to punching Naruto's hand. If he wanted that reward, he was going to have to suck it up and do what Naruto told him to do. He was sort of getting used to doing what Naruto said anyway. Naruto was already being a better friend to him than his other two traitor friends who had been ignoring him since he started to hang out with Naruto anyway. Rias smiled at the honest effort, liking to see this side of Issei, the determined side of him that showed his human spirit. So Naruto, earlier you sounded like you spoke from experience. You must be very experienced as a partner if you speak that way. Rias pointed out. She did notice that Naruto was speaking about sex a lot easier than Issei was. There was a noticeable difference between the way Naruto spoke and the way Issei spoke. Issei was obsessed with sex, but Naruto didn't really seem interested. If anything, he was extremely casual about sex. They were both perverts in their own ways, but they gave off different vibes. I've been with a few people here and there. I might be a bit of a pervert, but I've had sex, and I've got more on my mind than sex. Sex is great and all, but I have other hobbies. Naruto explained, before he looked towards Issei working up a sweat. Naruto had been keeping count, and Issei had already punched his hand 54 times. Ow ow, Issei grunted when he pulled back his fist, and the tape on his knuckles started to turn a little red. Issei didn't see the light glow on Naruto's hand, and Naruto healed the damage that was done to his knuckles, or at least he healed some of the damage. If Issei wanted his fist to grow harder, then he was going to have to deal with a little bleeding. Naruto just healed some of the damage so that Issei would be able to get all the way to 500 punches. About our next date, I was thinking we could go to a movie. You paid for the last date, so it can be my treat this. There is a movie I wanted to see, Rias stated with a smile on her face. She really did have fun on the last date, and she wanted to do a little date planning. Seeing a movie was a staple for a good date. It was hard to go wrong with a movie date. If the movie was great, awesome. If the movie sucked, at least they could make fun of it together. It was hard to go wrong with movies. Sounds good to me. Naruto punched Issei in the stomach with his free hand. Gh. Issei grunted and fell to his knees, holding his stomach in pain. His hands went to his mouth as he stopped himself from puking. He forced it back down and looked up at Naruto, who glanced down at him. I never said I wasn't going to hit you back. Don't just punch my hand, stay alert, because you don't know when I'm going to take a swing at you, Naruto told Issei with a firm look. If Issei thought that he was just going to get practice throwing punches, then he had another thing coming. You couldn't win a fight against a stronger opponent just by throwing punches, not when you weren't able to read when your opponent was going to counter you. Issei flipped Naruto off as he stood back up and started to punch Naruto's hand again. This is going to get me laid, right? Issei asked, and Naruto made a wavy motion with his hand. It would increase his chances. If you can put some muscle on your body, a lot of girls would be willing to ignore some of your more annoying traits. Of course, getting stronger will be a vital help to you anyway. Rias spoke up as she looked at Naruto. She could see the value in this, for her at least, since Naruto training Issei would make Issei more valuable to her as a pawn. She might not be able to get Naruto, but she could still get the Red Dragon Emperor. How does this look on me? Fine, you mind moving out of the way so that I can see Kaneko-chan? Naruto blew Rias off with a wave of his hand. It was Sunday, and that meant that it was the beach day that he had been promised. Of course, he had assumed that he would have been able to go with Kaneko alone to the beach. Nope. As it would turn out, Rias and the rest of her group planned on joining in on the trip. Rias sighed and shrugged her shoulders. She was wearing the skimpiest little swimsuit that she owned, and she wasn't able to attract Naruto's attention. Shouldn't you be watching me? Rias asked as she looked over towards Kaneko, who was building a sandcastle, though it was a challenge for her. She was wearing a rather small orange bikini that honestly didn't cover much. Her petite body was mostly on display, but she did have large cat paws on her hands and feet. Not to mention an orange tail attached to her waist, and cat ears on top of her head. I should, but I'm not, Naruto told her without looking away from Kaneko. So adorable. We're dating, so at least pay a little attention to me. I wore this skimpy bikini for you. Rias spoke as she purposely jiggled her breasts a little to try and get Naruto's attention. The nearby pervert, Issei, fell into the sand with a bleeding nose instantly. For Issei's workout, Naruto had forced him to come and run across the sand with a tire attached to his body. It would seem that Rias and Akino's swimsuits were far too much stimulation for his breast-loving brain to handle. Naruto once more waved Rias off. Yeah, you're sexy, and your swimsuit is sexy, but it's super normal for sexy girls to wear sexy swimsuits. You would have been better off to wear an innocent swimsuit. An innocent swimsuit on a sexy body makes the contrast hotter. Naruto didn't pay much attention to Rias as she sat down next to him. She sighed in annoyance at him, but she couldn't deny that she should have seen it coming. Kaneko was absolutely adorable. I guess you have a point, Kaneko is adorable, so seeing her wear something sexy adds a little more value to her swimsuit. Rias understood art, and how contract could very well add to the value of the art itself. Kaneko's swimsuit being sexy actually made her even cuter, instead of making her sexy. It was her cuteness that made her sexy swimsuit work for her, making her all the cuter. Why orange? Rias could see that Kaniko's entire swimsuit was orange. It worked, but she was curious as to why such a strange color was picked. You hating on orange? Naruto asked as he looked at Rias, and pointed down to his orange trunks. Anyway, who said we're dating? Naruto asked Rias, and she gave a smile. We went on a date, and had fun. We're going to go on another date, and I know we are going to have fun. That's going to lead to another date. Rias couldn't help herself but try and tease Naruto. She saw him look up for a moment, before he shrugged his shoulders. She sighed to herself when she realized he wasn't going to be easy to tease. Are you even attracted to my body? Rias asked with a gesture to her breasts. Appay. Issei, continue running, or I'm adding more tires. Naruto shouted to Issei, who got back to running. Of course I'm attracted to you. I'm just not a hormonal teenager anymore. My weakness for cute things is literally something I inherited from my Naruto stopped saying that and frowned. He loved cute things to the point that it was a weakness, and while it was partially sexual, when the cute thing was a legal age, it was mostly non-sexual in nature. Rias let out a sigh of relief, happy to know he was attracted to her. He also had a good point. Only a few days until Rainier makes her move on Issei. Are you sure he will live? Rias asked with a curious glance at Issei. Issei's entire body was bruise-covered, and his hands were covered in scrapes and marks from practice. He hadn't really gained any muscle, it had only been a few days since he started, but he seemed more energetic than he had been in the past. If his chances of survival were 1% before he started, I would say they will be 5%. He might survive if he runs away from Rainier, he will die if he attempts to fight though. Naruto didn't really look towards Issei. He looked at Yuto, and his banana hammock, with a raised eyebrow for a moment. The swordsman must be very comfortable with his body if he was wearing such a bulge-showing swimsuit. What are you doing? Naruto saw Rias on her stomach, showing her back to him. Won't you put sunscreen on your back? Your seduction could use a lot of work. Naruto told her with a chuckle. Rias pouted. But I actually do want you to put it on, Rias stated, and she put the sunscreen in Naruto's hands. She got back down on her stomach, and Naruto poured some on her back. She gave a soft noise at the cold gel touching her skin, before she felt the warmth of his hand on her back. Yufufu. Rias nearly jumped when she heard Akino laughing next to her. She hadn't even noticed her friends sneaking up on them. Akino! Rias shouted as she looked over towards Akino with annoyance. She was having a moment with somebody she wanted to get to know better. Then Akino had to come and intrude on the moment. Rias almost wanted to sat up and yell at her when Akino saddled up to Naruto and placed his arm between her larger breasts. Damn it, Akino! Naruto placed his hand on Akino's face. Begone, thought. Naruto spoke in a deadpan voice, before he pushed Akino into the sand a few feet away. She landed on her butt, and she wasn't hurt, but she was blushing as she licked her lips moments after he pushed her. So rough. You are a masochist. Didn't peg you for that kind of pervert. Why don't you rub Rias back, while I go figures, can't even go to the beach without this happening. Naruto mentioned as he stood up and looked towards the water. Akino blinked in surprise when she heard his tone change from teasing to rather pissed off in a matter of seconds. Naruto suddenly started to stretch himself out. Rias, take Kaneko and escape to somewhere safe. I don't want her getting caught up in this. Naruto spoke as he jumped to his right side. Rias blinked in surprise. What? Naruto jumped to his left the next second, before he ducked and did a backflip. She watched as he threw his arm up into the arm as if for blocking an attack from an enemy. She looked at Akino, who looked at her as well, both in confusion when they saw Naruto attacking and blocking attacks from nothing. It looked like he was practicing martial arts more than anything. Naruto raised up both of his hands, blocking something from both sides. A shockwave from something shot across the beach, blasting Issei and Yuto off of their feet, while Rias and Akino were flipped onto their backs. Even Kaneko was tossed away where she almost landed in the water. What? Yuto asked as he looked towards the source of the shockwave. Itachi Uchiha with the sacred gear illusion madness, and is this Kisame? This sacred gear is shark skin. I figured Akatsuki was going to make some plans, but I didn't realize that you two were going to be the first to come after me. Naruto whispered as he glanced to his right and left sides. He had a frown on his face as he gripped Itachi's fist, and Kisame's sword in his hands. He could feel them trying to pull their methods of attack back from him, so he squeezed harder than before. Naruto, why did you release those shockwaves? Rias asked in confusion as she recovered from being knocked backwards. What was that? Issei shouted when he looked towards Naruto standing in an awkward position, from the source of the shockwave. Having a conversation with himself? Naruto stood up straight and looked towards the water when his opponents broke away from his grip. Naruto vanished from view and appeared behind Issei, before he hit Issei in the back of the head. Issei fell forward into the sand, completely unconscious, and Naruto tossed him towards Akino. Naruto! Rias shouted at Naruto with anger in her voice. Why the hell would he attack his friend like that? What the fuck was going on? What do you see that we don't see? Yuto asked as he ran up to Naruto. He looked around, before he saw 2 sets of footprints in the sand around Naruto. 2 sets that were male in size, and not belonging to anyone on the beach he knew of. Instantly, he had a sword with a blade of fire, and a sword with a blade of ice in his hands when he realized that Naruto had been fighting invisible opponents. Where are they? Yuto asked as he got combat ready. Naruto raised his hand up and blocked an attack. His forearm was shredded with blood splattering on the sand, and several drops of blood landing on something standing in front of Naruto. Who says I can see them? I don't see them any better than you can, Naruto mentioned with a smirk on his face. He took a step forward, and punched the blood stain in front of him. Everyone heard a grunt of pain, before there was a splash in the ocean as the figure Naruto punched was sent flying. Naruto looked at his arm, and frowned at the damage down. So the shark skin absorbs Tuki as well? That sword can hurt me. Naruto spoke as he looked at the bones sticking out as he bled freely. Naruto started to heal himself with his sacred gear, his wounds vanishing as easily as they had appeared. Now everyone was on alert. You can't? Kaneko took off her cat paws and gripped her hands into fists, joining Naruto and Yuto. Naruto sighed. You're both too weak to really help me here. You're just going to get in my way at your strength. Of course, you should keep on those cat paws, Kaneko-chan, you're super cute in them, Naruto stated as he leaned over Kaneko and looked over her. He raised his arm up and defended Kaneko from a different attack. Kaneko saw the tip of a blood-covered sword inches from her face. Then she felt a chill. That is, Yuto felt the same chill of a holy sword. His eyes narrowed in hatred as he swung his sword in the direction of the holy sword user. The sword was pulled out of Naruto's arm, and both of Yuto's swords were destroyed with one swing. I'm sick of getting stabbed, I really am. I didn't know you were a thief, Itachi. I'm pretty sure that Excalibur rapidly was owned by the church. Naruto spoke as the blood on the sword vanished. Excalibur? Yuto asked with narrowing eyes, a dark aura appearing around his body. Naruto glanced at him. Didn't I tell you two to leave? Rias, use those wings of yours and fly away. I'm going to. Naruto punched Yuto in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Naruto handed the limp Yuto to Kaneko. Fight by myself. Naruto spoke with a grin on his face. You two better activate your balance breakers, because if you don't, this is going to be utterly one-sided. Everyone was blasted backwards when Naruto activated his balance breaker, his golden dragon armor appearing on his body. The illusion around his opponents broke with his flare of power, revealing the 2 men in business suits standing in front of Naruto, both of them with intimidating auras of their own. Balance breaker? Rias whispered as she summoned her wings, grabbed Issei from Akino, and started to fly away. Akino and Kaneko followed their example and opened their wings, flying away as well, since they could see this level of battle was going to be out of their league. Activating your balance breaker this early in the fight, Naruto-kun? Itachi asked as he looked at Naruto with a frown, speaking for the first time since he started to use his illusions on Naruto. Kisame raised a large sword above his head and grinned. Fine by me, I didn't like how our last fight ended anyway. This time we're going to capture you. Kisame spoke to Naruto, and Naruto punched his fist into his palm. There was a shockwave. I'm stronger than before. I'm not going to just send you home with your tails between your legs, I'm going to capture you and force you to tell me everything you know about your group, Naruto stated as he took a battle stance. He was going to need his balance breaker to fight both of these opponents at the same time. Explosions of power could be felt with Itachi and Kisame both activated their balance breakers. This was going to get intense. Boom. Naruto and Kisame's fists collided, Naruto in golden armor, and Kisame with his body transformed into that of a large, bipedal shark humanoid. The two of them were matching fist for fist, dealing out near equal amounts of force with their punches as they attacked each other. Naruto placed his foot on Kisame's chest, and pushed off when chains came out of the ground and would have wrapped around him, and he blocked a punch from Kisame with his shin, allowing himself to be sent flying. You've improved, Naruto-kun, To think you're able to dodge my illusions while fighting Kisame is a stark contrast from last time. Itachi spoke as the chains started to fly after Naruto, following him. Naruto didn't even try to attack Itachi, since the Itachi he was seeing was only an illusion. There were several hundred Itachis standing around, all of them illusions to try and confuse Naruto while Naruto fought with Kisame. How long can you last though? Itachi questioned as Naruto's foot touched the ground for a split second. The next second he was gone, 100 feet high in the air as he held his hands out in front of him. He was going to have to apologize to Rias. Her family was about to lose its speech, and this was assured when a black ball appeared between Naruto's hands. It took less than a second to charge, before it was a size large enough to fit in the palm of his hand. Naruto thrust his palm out, and it went soaring at the ground. The second it made contact with the ground, a large explosion consumed the beach. A massive sphere consumed everything within miles of the attack's epicenter. Naruto landed on the ground inside of the explosion as it was happening, his armor protecting him and negating the damage from his own attack. There is no way that killed them. Naruto looked around as the attack faded away, revealing a large crater where the beach used to be. Ocean water started to rush to fill in the crater, and Naruto looked to see Kisame in the ocean with Itachi standing on his back. Kisame's hands were burned to a crisp, but he had managed to absorb the majority of the explosion before it could reach them. The shark's skin absorbs the energy from attacks, so its balance breaker would have to do that as well, but at a better level. You two fucks ruined my beach day. How many more of those can you absorb? Naruto asked as he raised his hand and another ball appeared. That's easy, I can absorb. Then another one appeared, and another. Naruto crossed his arms in front of his chest as dozens more of his earlier attacks started to float around him. These orbs are pure, concentrated, dragon aura from my body, fused together with my Tuki, my very life force. Of course, the attack itself is so powerful and heavy that it can only be used while I'm in Twilight Saint affection, but how many do you think you can absorb? 100? Naruto asked as 100 of the spheres formed around his body. 500? Naruto asked as the spheres continued to appear all around Naruto's body. Each no bigger than a baseball, but considering that alone was able to completely destroy the beach they had been standing on, 500 of them were something to be feared. 1,000? Naruto asked as the number of spheres completely doubled. 1,000 sphere appeared all around them, and Naruto just kept his arms crossed in front of his chest. How does your balance breaker work, Naruto-kun? The Twilight Healing is a healing type sacred gear. It has no offensive abilities. Itachi pointed out as he looked for a way to defeat this attack all around them, or at least survive it. Naruto saw no reason not to tell them. It doesn't possess any offensive power, that's all me. Twilight Saint affection negates damage, and that's it. No matter how hard you hit me, no matter what happens, I and anyone I cloak in my aura will never take damage. Naruto explained as he took a step on the water, standing on top of it using his Tuki for balance. Of course, his balance breaker wasn't perfect, and there was a way to defeat it, but Naruto wasn't going to tell them that. Itachi looked over Naruto's armor, and thought about the battle before between Naruto and Kisame, matching fists. Your strength increased, Itachi pointed out. Not that I'm complaining, that was a fun fight. Kisame chuckled when he remembered how Naruto was matching him. They were both masters of Tuki, but Kisame was naturally larger and more enhanced in several ways than Naruto. So for Naruto to match him in strength while in his balance breaker state didn't make sense if Naruto's sacred gear wasn't increasing his strength. My body isn't taking damage, even I use more strength than my body can handle. No matter how much strength I use, my body won't be hurt by it. Naruto explained with a grin on his face underneath his helmet. Naruto uncrossed his arms and got in a ready stance for battle once more. Twilight Saint affection has no offensive power. All this strength I have right now is simply because of the hard work I've done into getting stronger. Of course, if you break my armor, then my balance breaker won't be protecting me from damage, Naruto explained to them. Itachi raised an eyebrow. So breaking your armor is your weakness. You're very forthcoming with information today, including your weaknesses. Itachi spoke, and Naruto snorted. He flared his dragon aura. Weakness? If you think your attacks are powerful enough to break my armor that is being enhanced by my dragon aura, then go ahead and try it. This armor isn't going to be so easy to break. I still need a name for my strength technique. Naruto spoke with a thoughtful expression on his face. Kisame rushed towards Naruto. Perfect, I'll just absorb your dragon aura, and leave your armor weaker, Kisame called out as he swam at Naruto at impressive speeds. Itachi braced himself, before jumping off of Kisame when the man got too close to Naruto. I've got it. Kisame! Retreat! Itachi shouted when he realized what Naruto was about to do. He saw all of the attack spheres shooting towards Naruto and Kisame. Kisame noticed a little too late as all of the balls collected in Naruto's hand before he could get to him. The spheres were reabsorbed into Naruto's body, his armor's strength increasing as his dragon aura was returned to him. Kisame felt a fist hit him. Twilight Saint Affection, Unrivaled Strength Mode. Naruto spoke as Kisame's head went flying off of his body. Naruto raised his hand up, and Kisame's body and head both gained a slight glowing aura. Itachi saw Kisame's head had been punched so that it was next to him, and as the head flew past him, he saw something inside of his neck. One of those orbs from earlier. Itachi kicked Kisame's head back at Naruto, and Naruto caught it. The explosion that went off was far larger than before. Itachi only managed to escape by using Excalibur rapidly and running away from the explosion, into the nearby forest. He looked back towards the explosion, having not been hit by it, and saw Naruto standing firm still. There were a few cracks on his armor, on Naruto's hand that had punched Kisame. So, while Naruto might not be taking damage from attacks, his armor has a limit to how durable it is. Naruto used too much strength when he punched Kisame, and his armor couldn't keep up with his strength. Itachi analyzed the crack in the armor. Naruto's body might not take any damage, but it was a relief to know that his armor wasn't nearly as durable. Kisame had an impressive durability. Even with my dragon aura enhancing my armor, the amount of strength I needed to knock his head off his body was insane. Naruto dropped his balance breaker state completely, before he powered up once more. The crack in his armor was repaired by the retransformation. Itachi noticed that. So his armor didn't regenerate. When it was damaged, he had to drop his balance breaker completely in order to fix his armor. Then again, the same rules applied to the boosted gear and divine dividing, and most armor types' sacred gears in general. Kisame's body is gone. My illusions won't hurt his armor, and he isn't taking damage. This is a bad matchup. Not to mention I can't match him in a physical contest of strength for a sacred gear with no offensive power. It couldn't have a more powerful wielder. Itachi thought with narrowed eyes. All he could do was allow himself to use his illusions to mask his presence as much as possible. Damn, I destroyed Kisame's body. If I at least kept his head intact, then maybe his brain could have held information. Looks like I need to capture Itachi alive. Actually, damn it, Itachi, you're free to go. I just remembered that there is somebody else who has a bone to pick with you. Naruto looked towards Itachi, even with his illusion covering him. Itachi breathed a sigh of relief. Never before in his life was he more comforted by the fact his little brother wanted to kill him. The fact that Naruto was allowing Sasuke to have his revenge was actually saving him from being beaten and captured. So this is why the Uzumaki were so feared by the other races, and Uzumaki can turn even a harmless sacred gear like Twilight Healing and use it as if it were a weapon. Itachi gulped, actually gulped, when he realized just how dangerous his opponent was. How truly powerful he was. None of his strength came from his sacred gear, and that was the scary part. All of his strength came from himself. His dragon aura came from himself. His Tuki came from himself. All his sacred gear did was allow him to use his full power without hurting himself. All that power he was showing, none of it came from his sacred gear. The last time they fought, it had been somewhat even. He and Kisame had been forced to retreat, but this time. Just how far could this boy go? Itachi made the correct choice in deciding to take Naruto's mercy, and retreat to fight another day when he could come up with a strategy that could defeat Naruto. Come back anytime. I accept all challengers. This time, my prize for winning is your partner's life. What will you bet next time? Naruto asked as he powered down fully. He felt Itachi leaving the area, and he could tell that Itachi was going to be back, and next time he would be coming back with a better plan than this time. He was no closer to learning why the Akatsuki needed him, but it didn't matter. He still got to see Kaneko in a swimsuit. That was all that mattered. Rias, you need to get some rest. Worrying this much isn't good for your health. It had been 3 days since they had been forced, by Naruto, to retreat from the battle at the beach. Since then, Rias had even gone to the beach and found that her family beach had been utterly destroyed. There was no sign of Naruto. He wasn't home, he wasn't coming to school, and he hadn't answered any of her calls or texts in the last few days. To say that Rias was worried that he had been captured or killed was not a small thing. It hadn't taken long, but he had wormed his way into becoming one of her friends, somebody she could see as treating her the way she truly wanted to be treated. As Rias Gremory. Sona, you don't understand. I was there, by his side, and I didn't even stay. I could have stayed and fought with him, but he told me to leave and I just left. Rias had heavy bags under her eyes. The guilt that she had caused Naruto's untimely disappearance weighed heavily on her mind. She hadn't had a wink of sleep, and she had sent out all of her familiars to search for Naruto. She found nothing. If only to make matters worse, her knight, Yuto, was in a horrible mood after witnessing Excalibur rapidly. A sword that he wanted revenge against, and he had been denied his revenge. His revenge was his driving goal in life, it was all that he wanted to do, and to have it denied to him was heavy on him. He hadn't spoke, or even looked at her since they got back from the beach. She wanted to give him space, but she was afraid that he would go and try and fight against somebody too strong for him to handle. "What could you have done?" Sona asked as she sat across from Rias. Somebody had to talk with her. She hadn't come to school in several days, and it was worrying to a lot of people. If it continued, then no doubt even her brother would get involved in this mess. If her brother got involved, then no doubt word would reach her ears and things would just get even more complicated. "I could have fought too. You would have gotten in my way and died." Naruto/Naruto-san. Rias and Sona shouted, though Sona's cheeks turned a little pink when she saw Naruto walking into Rias' room without a care in the world. He looked completely uninjured, other than the bandages that were on his wrist. Rias stood up and ran towards Naruto, tackling him and burying her face in her friend-boyfriend. She truly didn't understand what they were, but they were on friendly terms, and she liked being around him. "You're okay." "Her room is a lot less devious than I thought it would be. It's a pretty normal girl's room, though a bit big." Naruto glanced around with a raised eyebrow. He pat her back gently as she cried. He didn't know that he was that important to her already. He glanced towards Sona with a raised eyebrow. "You're okay, I was worried when you didn't show up to school. Where have you been?" Sona tried to sound as stern as she could. She couldn't. "Well, during my battle with Itachi and Kisame, I destroyed." Naruto paused when he realized what he just said. They destroyed Rias' family beach. Naruto grinned as he pinned the blame on Itachi and Kisame. Yep, that was the story, and he was going to stick with it until somebody decided to challenge him on it. Anyway, I felt bad about what they did, so I decided to go and get a gift for Rias to make up for it. Naruto lifted up his free hand that wasn't comforting Rias and showed off 2 masks. Rias started to pound her hands against his chest. "Dummy! I don't care about the beach." "You're getting tears and snot on me, you don't care about the beach? Well damn, I spent so much time going to the Uzumaki mask shrine to get these." Naruto looked towards the masks in his hand. Sona's eyes widened when she heard the name of the place that he had been to. The Uzumaki family were known for many things, but one of the greatest things they were feared for were their masks. A mask from the Uzumaki family was always promised to hold great powers and abilities. Some of them were even known to have the ability to manipulate the gods themselves into doing the bidding of the Uzumaki. The Uzumaki mask shrine was a hidden location that was only known to the Uzumaki and the friends of the Uzumaki family. "Why didn't you call or text me if you were okay?" Rias shouted at Naruto as she pushed away from him. There was the anger he was waiting for. "To be fair, I left my phone at home, completely forgot to go and get it. You sure you don't want the masks? I mean, if you don't want them, I'm just going to break them." Naruto looked at the masks with a raised eyebrow. He didn't really care what happened to them. He may be an Uzumaki, and he may take pride in his family name, but he didn't really care about the masks his family used all that much. PFFFFT. Sona couldn't believe what she just heard. How could somebody just not care about pieces of their own family history like that? Uzumaki masks were some of the most desired items in the supernatural world. If Naruto sold those masks, he could acquire great fortunes from any greedy being. The Uzumaki family was destroyed by the supernatural because of how much everyone was terrified of them. At the exact same time, while many were terrified of them, to say the Uzumaki family wasn't greatly respected as a powerful family was not wrong. "Why didn't you even tell me you were okay? I was worried about you." Rias wanted to slap him but didn't. She would hurt her hand doing that. "You actually care about me? I just always thought you saw me as some obstacle to overcome and measure yourself against, a person who was a big mystery to solve." Naruto wasn't a fool to the eyes she looked at him with. She saw him as some big challenge she needed to complete to test herself. He got her a gift because he destroyed her family property. It wasn't out of any affection. He always ignored her, advanced on him because the eyes she looked at him with were those of somebody seeking a challenge. They were the same eyes he saw when he looked in the mirror. Rias backed away as if she had been physically slapped, and Sona winced when she felt that hit her in the heart too. Those words that Naruto uttered weren't meant to hurt Rias, but there was no holy sword in existence that could stab Rias more painfully than what he just said to her. The Gremlins are well known for being kind to others. Sona at least tried to defend Rias when she looked down at the carpet with tears on her cheeks still. Which makes it harder to tell, so Rias, tell me, am I actually your friend? Naruto asked her, and she looked up at him. She looked away from those strong eyes. You're my friend, but I do see you as a challenge. I'm sorry if I made it seem like I was using you, so please, from now on tell me when you're safe. Rias stopped when Naruto placed his hand on top of her head. Her eyes widened when she felt his warm hand gently caressing her hair, and he smiled down at her. Then I'm telling you this, are your friend, I'm okay. Naruto told her with a warm, comforting smile that she hadn't seen him use before. She placed her hands on top of his hand, and held it to her head. His hand was so big and comforting. It was a strong hand full of conviction and determination, but as tough as it was, his hand was so gentle. She just took comfort in his hand on her head. It was like he was soothing her worries, and all of her exhaustion was just melting away. You know, you should have told me too, Sona pointed out. She couldn't help but want the same treatment as Rias. Everything's been going to hell since you left. Yuto's been ignoring everyone, Rainier has started to make her move on Issei, and well, I'm a mess. Rias felt her knees about to give out, so she sat down on her bed. Naruto hummed in thought. You are. You're not supposed to agree with that. Rias couldn't help but giggle a little when he agreed with her statement. She looked at his wrist, and saw the bandages, before she reached out and touched him there. Naruto raised his wrist up when he noticed, and shrugged, before he used his teeth to undo the bandages. His wrist had a rather fresh wound. This isn't from the battle. I had to use my blood to restore these masks to working condition. See? Naruto asked her when his wound started to heal before her eyes. Rias finally looked towards the masks, really looked at them, and saw that they were white masks with red markings on them. Red markings that smelled like blood, and whose blood it was she could only guess correctly. Even Sona was curious. What do they do? Sona asked as she glanced at the 3 masks. Each mask bore 3 blood-stained whisker marks, and an Uzumaki spiral on the forehead. The masks reflected the one that gave them the blood for their paintings. Of course, when looking into the eyes of the mask, she couldn't help but feel like the mask was staring back at her. They can help a person with a sacred gear push it to the next level. Since I was born with my balance breaker active, I don't really need them. It's most for people who can't control their sacred gear, or people who want to achieve balance breaker, Naruto stated as he tossed the masks onto her bed. He didn't have a use for them, but he was sure that Rias could find some use for them that would be fun to watch. You keep using that word, but what exactly is a balance breaker? Rias asked with a frown on her face. She had heard the term in passing before. A balance breaker is the strongest form that a sacred gear takes, though some become subspecies depending on the person, Naruto admitted with a grin. It took having a powerful dragon affinity to reach his type of subspecies, and even if somebody else reached it, he doubted that they would be able to use it the same way he could. Rias looked at the masks. This can make somebody achieve this form? Rias asked. Naruto shook his head. It's a training tool. If you don't have the willpower to put in the effort, then it's not going to work, Naruto told her with a frown. He wasn't going to give her something that would just up and make people stronger. Giving a person power without teaching them the right way to use it, or give them the discipline to use it, was just a horrible mistake waiting to happen. Why 3? Sona was curious about the number. Once its job is done, it breaks. Listen, anyway, I've got some training to do. See you later. I'll check in on Issei and make sure he's not dead. Naruto waved himself out. Train? You? Rias asked with confusion. He didn't need it. I've been working on taking my balance breaker to the next level. I have a dragon aura, might as well put it to good use. Naruto spoke with confidence. Rias pushed one of the masks towards him when she heard that. Then keep this one, and let it help. It won't work for him, will it? Sona asked when she saw Naruto push it back towards Rias. Not for what I need it for, honestly. What I'm doing might be impossible, I'm sure it is impossible, which makes it that much more important that I do it. Naruto grinned savagely when he thought about what he was going to be trying. Impossible? Rias had to admit that she didn't think she would ever hear Naruto say that word. You'll see when I accomplish the impossible. So Issei is on a date with Rainier? Yep. Naruto stated as he looked through the pictures on his phone. He was unconcerned about what was going on. If Issei lived or died was up to Issei and Rias. Issei's self-preservation instinct and Rias' desire to add Issei to her peerage were the deciding factors. Issei was in no real danger, since cocky fallen angels normally didn't behead their opponents. Instead, the most common way the fallen would kill their victims was by stabbing them in the stomach. Sometimes, if they were really sadistic, they stabbed them in the legs first, so that they couldn't run away as they were stabbed in the guts. You're not even going to try and help, are you? Rias asked as she raised an eyebrow. Listen, I just got a new app on my phone. I made sure to sneak one of your summoning contracts into his pocket. If he dies, just add him to your peerage. I want to look at all of the settings on shaft shots. Naruto spoke as he tilted his head to the side, looking at his phone with some confusion for a moment. Uhu, it's like art, but a penis. Naruto realized after a moment. I don't want to know. I do. Kaneko couldn't help but say, and Akino decided to chime in on her desire to know what Naruto was talking about. Rias just sighed and held her head for a moment. Her rook and queen were opposites on the scale. You take pics? Rias asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow. She could see that talking about Issei, or asking about his training, were things she wasn't going to get far into. Naruto didn't really care much about the Issei situation, because in the end he was going to survive one way or another. The only variation was how much he got hurt when he did survive in the end. It's not a pic, it's a shaft shot. Anyway, like you're one to talk. I bet you would be the type of girl that would send a nude pic to somebody. Naruto didn't even snap at her. He just responded normally. He was good at judging people, and Rias seemed like the type of girl that enjoyed teasing people in good nature. She was for sure the type that would go shopping for bikinis or whatever, and send pictures of herself in various states of undress to send to a guy she was interested in. Rias didn't have a response for that to deny it with. Gross. Yep, pics are cross, Kaneko-chan. That's why I take shaft shots. I like the sunrise morning wood filter myself, really goes just how much I care for and respect people. Nice and romantic. Naruto's serious tone had Akino walk up behind him and look over his shoulder at the screen of his phone. Her face lit up like a Christmas tree instantly. Big, Akino thought as she looked away from Naruto's phone. She covered her nose to hide the blood flow that she was experiencing. She glanced back at his phone, and Rias raised her eyebrow. She sighed at Akino's reaction for a moment, before she glanced at Naruto. Who are you even sending that to? You and I. Ding. Rias stopped talking when she got a message on her phone. She blinked and looked towards her phone, before she opened up her message. Instantly her eyes widened, and her face turned the same color as her hair. She turned her face away from her phone and covered her mouth with her hand to keep from saying anything. Big. Rias mentally compared it to the ones that she had seen in textbooks, and she could honestly say that Naruto was quite the gifted Uzumaki. Gross. Kaneko glanced at Naruto, and then at Rias who had received the picture. You're a pervert. Kaneko pointed at Naruto with a dull tone to her voice. Rias saved the picture to her phone. Delete that picture. Deleted. Rias frowned when she had to delete her picture when she heard Naruto's voice command it. She saw he still hadn't gotten up from the couch, or even looked in her direction. You know, it's really inappropriate to send those types of pictures. Rias tried to save a little face. She wanted to attempt to sound like she was taking the high road, at least a little bit. Can you send that pic to me? Akino asked Naruto. No. Gross. Kaneko stated as she looked at Naruto and Akino. Naruto laughed for a moment, before he sat up on the couch and put his phone to the side. Where is Yuto? Kaneko asked Rias, since the wayward knight was once more nowhere to be seen. She really wanted to change the topic. He's... Naruto. You won't believe what just happened to me. Issei came running into the clubroom, where he imagined Naruto would be. He was covered in sweat, and even wearing casual clothes. He had cuts on his arms and one that looked like it had going across his side. It was like somebody tried to stab him, but he dodged most of the attack at the last moment. He was panting in exhaustion, and he seemed rather close to passing out. Your girlfriend was really a bitch named Rainier who tried to stab you to death. My girlfriend was really a bitch named Rainier who tried to stab me to death. Issei shouted the moment after Naruto spoke. Naruto's words didn't register in Issei's brain for several moments as he shouted. I ran here as fast as I could. You were the first person I could think of that would know what to do. Wait, Issei took a moment and realized what Naruto had said, his brain remembering the words. Wait for it. You knew! Issei screamed and pointed at Naruto. There it is. Kaneko finished what Naruto was saying. Naruto looked towards Kaneko and placed his hand over his heart. You're still gross. Kaneko told Naruto, and he wiped away an imaginary tear. You're still adorable anyway, Issei. Welcome to the club. You are now aware of the supernatural, and have become involved. Naruto stood up and walked towards Issei. He placed his hand on the boy's shoulder and walked him towards the couch. He forcefully sat Issei down where he had been sitting. Akino was just giggling when she realized that Issei was shell-shocked over this surprise. Naruto's sacred gear activated, and his rings appeared, before his hands glowed green, and he started to heal Issei. You're healing you. This is my sacred gear, Twilight Healing. Like you, I'm a human that has a special ability. That girl, Rainer, was targeting you because you have a sacred gear. The last week, I wasn't just training you to help you pick up girls, but also to survive getting attacked. Naruto told Issei with a smirk on his face. The healing was over seconds later, and Issei just looked at his previously injured body in shock for a few moments. And I'm a devil, Rias added in. Now that I don't. She's a devil, and was going to save your life if you were killed. Naruto backed Rias up. Rias had decided to piggyback on Naruto's declaration to get Issei adjusted as quickly as possible. Naturally, Issei didn't believe her. Rias was pouting that Issei didn't believe her, but she regained a serious face moments later. Why did Issei believe Naruto so easily? Why didn't you tell me this sooner? Issei wanted to say he was angry at Naruto, but the only reason he even survived was because he had dodged Rainer's attack by running away. When she had been fixing to attack him, he got the same feeling from her that he felt from Naruto whenever he was about to punch him. Rainer's spear moved a lot slower than Naruto's fist, and while he couldn't dodge Naruto's fist, he had barely dodged the spear. Was it super secret? Issei asked. Naruto snorted. You're so perverted that I doubted that you would have the motivation to train if it didn't involve girls, even if her life was on the line. It's easier to explain things after you've already seen something supernatural. Now Rias has an offer for you. I have something to do. Naruto turned and started to walk out of the room with a grin on his face. Rias nodded to Naruto with a smile on her face. He raised a hand up and waved himself out. Your turn, Issei, pay attention to her, and don't stare at her tits. You've asked the impossible of me. What things could you possibly have to do now? Rias asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow, and he only answered as he was closing the door behind himself. It's better you don't know. -10 minutes later. You see, Issei, so I want you to become the pawn in my peerage. Not only will you become a servant for me, but I can offer you protection against fallen angels. You'll be able to grow stronger as well, and one day you might even be able to become a high-class devil and gain your freedom, and gain your own peerage. Rias explained, but she didn't have to wait long for an answer. Sign me up, Issei shouted as he stood up with determination in his eyes. Peerages were like harems, right? You're not going to ask more questions. Nope, just turn me into your servant. Seriously, this is a big decision, and I will understand if you want to. Shut up and take my soul. Stop interrupting. Seriously, Rias, the boy's made up his mind already. This is the most determined I've seen you, Issei. Naruto came back into the room, once more interrupting Rias when she was talking. Everyone looked towards him, before they sweat dropped when they realized that Naruto looked very different than when he left. He was covered from head to toe in blood and black feathers. The fact that the vast majority of his body was covered in blood alone was surprising, but add on to that the fact that Naruto had black feathers on him, it wasn't hard to imagine where he had been and what he had been doing. Where have you been? Issei asked Naruto when he saw him. It's better you don't know. Why are you still in my room? Naruto deadpanned when he saw a certain lowly fallen still naked in his bed. He didn't mind the fact that she was still there so much as he was surprised. Usually when you had a one-night stand with somebody, they were gone by the time you got back. Well, it was technically a 3-night stand since he had sex with her 3 times now. That didn't matter so much as the fact that she was still in his room after he got back from school. You've got some interesting toys, Middle said as she looked at 2 of the strongest swords in existence hanging from his wall. Really, if she were capable of picking them up, she would have totally stolen them. Sadly, she wasn't able to wield either holy or demon swords, so she was unable to steal them from Naruto. Not happy to see me? Middle asked with a raised eyebrow. Naruto hummed with a raised eyebrow. Not so much unhappy as confused. I literally ripped Rainer to pieces with my bare hands. Why aren't you back with Grigori? Naruto asked her with crossed arms. Middle smiled. I'm a traitor, I can't go back now. You killed Rainer, it's not like I can go back after both failing my mission and supporting Rainer when she turned traitor. Since we've had sex twice. 3 times. Right, we did have that quickie after you killed Rainier. You were super hot when you were soaked in her blood. Middle had the most pleasant smile in the world. She had to admit, when she had sex with him while he was covered in Rainier's blood, that was the best quickie she had ever experienced. Usually she never came from a quickie, but she had possibly had the largest orgasm of her life. Even larger than when Naruto brought her back to his room later that night and screwed her again. Anyway, since we've banged a few times, I feel like we're close enough where you'll let me stay here. Now that I'm a traitor and don't have a home. Middle spoke, and Naruto snorted. Not exactly how that worked. You assume I trust you, Naruto told her. Do you have to trust me? I mean, the only way I could go back to Grigori is if I did something to make them overlook my traitor status. Middle added as she looked at the swords. She clicked her teeth in annoyance again when she practically admitted that she would have stole the swords in a heartbeat if she could. I can see that look, and it's not like I'll be living here for free, I'll be paying rent with my body. Middle gestured towards her nude body with a wink.